In this world, there is both a hero and a demon king. A hero is someone who fights for the empire. As for the demon king, he is the true ruler of the demonic realm. The hero receives his powers from the world and uses them for one single purpose: to kill the demon king. On the other hand, the king exists only to kill the hero. "Hero, I'm already behind him!" shouted one of the light side fighters. However, the demon king also has his own loyal army. "We'll deal with these weaklings," shouted the girl who appeared on the battlefield. She immediately inflicted serious injury on the hero's confidant. Some of the light side fighters recognized her. Well, they are called squad leaders. There are a total of 12 official squads. They are the demon king's cruel and powerful subordinates. They say that no one can resist them. But even such demons find it difficult to deal with a hero. "Is this the power of a hero?" said one of the fighters. However, there is also someone who has already killed the hero once. We are talking about the commander of the Zero Detachment, Demon Arat, the one who managed to defeat the king's main opponent. Someone approached the table and placed a resignation letter on it. The demon king carefully examined the document that was brought to him. The blonde man said he wanted to resign. After hearing this, the demon king slowly exhaled. Then he slammed his hand on the table with all his might and asked the guy what he had just said. The blow was so strong that the paper began to fly apart in all directions. One of the leaves stuck to the blonde's face. "How dare you?" the head of the castle asked angrily. Then, hugging the young man by the legs, he declared that he would never let him go. "You don't want that, do you?" he asked. But the young man was immersed in his thoughts and looked somewhere into the distance. Then the boss started bombarding the guy with questions. "Is there something you don't like here? Maybe your subordinates don't respect you." "What I listed simply cannot be," he thought. Demon Arat is one whose power cannot be disputed despite the fact that he is human. He is the object of universal veneration and respect, the strongest card in the king's hands. "I wonder who would have the courage to interfere with him," the black-haired man thought. "No," the young man began. "It's not about subordinates." "So what is it?" the head hurried to find out. "If I don't tell you, will you kill me?" asked Arut. This took the demon king by surprise. No way. He just wanted to know the reason. Because the blonde knows how much he is appreciated. "It's all because I recently sent you to the border. You're doing this because your body is itching to fight." The black-haired man began to bombard the young man with questions. Tired of this flow, Arut asked the leader to calm down. Suddenly blood dripped onto the floor. You're bleeding again," the king said. Immediately after this, he began shouting for the doctor to come quickly. "The commander of the Zero Detachment needs help," he continued. "Where the hell is he when the commander needs help?" After a while, the long-awaited doctor arrived. He began to heal the young man using magic. "How is he?" the head of the castle hastened to ask. Ben, the doctor of the Zero Squad, reported that these were the consequences of the battle. Then the headman's voice changed. "I called you here, not to listen to information that is already known. Find a way to cure him as soon as possible. If you can't cope, then you know what awaits you." Ben said he would do his best. "Arut, we'll continue our conversation later. Come back and focus on your recovery," the leader said. The servant hurried to escort the young man to his room. Suddenly, Ben grabbed the guy's hand. He resisted, saying that he could get to the room himself, but the doctor insisted. Then the young gentleman was laid on the couch. The girls started discussing Arut, saying that the commander of the Zero Detachment was bleeding again. Well, he threw himself on the hero's body when he decided to self-destruct. Frankly, it's surprising that the guy got away with such minor injuries. There are rumors that even in this state he is still second in strength after the king. A talent that was closest in strength to the castle's leader, the youth was truly respected. Even though he was a human, it was truly a great fortune that he joined the Demon King's army. "Damn, but I wanted to leave and start a happy life," the young man thought. "But they continue to say whatever they want," he continued to reason. "Lord Arat, does something hurt you?" the girl asked him. "Your pulse has returned to normal. Give him a towel now. He has a fever." Another girl intervened. "Don't talk nonsense," another doctor joined in. "Please rest," Ben asked the young man, bowing his head. "Am I the demon Arut or not?" the guy asked himself. "No, he is not who they think he is. He is Dion Hart." The servant said that she would take the glass away as soon as the young man finished drinking. The guy's hands were shaking. He was afraid of appearing awkward. "I'm sorry," the girl hastened to apologize. "Please go away," the young man asked her. "Our hands touched," thought the contented maiden as she left the room. "Damn, it looks like she hates me. It even hurts that she didn't want her hands to touch me," the blonde thought. Of course, the Demon King cared about him, even too much. He followed the young man through the corridors and offered him delicious food, but his anxiety would not let him pass. He is the only person in this kingdom who was born with the weakest body, which suffers from the slightest stress. He was mistaken for being strong and appointed as the head of the Zero Squad, making him a direct subordinate to the king. If someone finds out about his true abilities, or rather about the lack thereof, all these thoughts haunted him. "I'm going to die, damn it. I can't stay here anymore," the boy thought. Afterwards, he immediately imagined how the king and the heads of the troops were mocking him. He needs to leave this place in the most peaceful way possible. because he plans to live a long and carefree life. Suddenly, the chandelier in the room began to shake. The advisor to the commander of the Zero Detachment, Ed, appeared. Damn, what is he doing here, the young man thought. Have you returned to the human world? Arut asked him. The advisor took out a trinket known as a mirror cube. Then the guy began to examine him, but the real reason for Ed's appearance was Harut's well-being. What can we do to spare you the consequences of that battle? The advisor asked. Perhaps I should be reborn, the young man thought. But he couldn't think of anything better to say than that it was his fault. And Ed didn't like those words. The advisor was going to find a way to cure the boy, even if it meant getting rid of Ben. Please get some rest, Ed said. Well, no one except him was so worried about the blonde. But despite this, I can't live here, the guy reasoned. I hoped that nothing else would cause misunderstanding. Meanwhile, the head of the castle was studying something with interest. This resignation letter, he began, and the look on his face. After this, the king smiled slyly. The young man's actions were impossible to predict from their very first meeting. It looked like Arut had just killed the hero. Not only killed, but also protected everyone from the wave of his self-destruction. The Empire sent a rather interesting guy. Dion Hart. He showed such great courage and loyalty by jumping out in the middle of a battlefield for the Empire. Would you like to join the Demon King's army? The castle leader asked him. If you think about it, he was too free after joining us. But it's not like I can send him on a mission, the king continued to reason. Then, looking again at the text of the document. After this, his face changed and a sly smile appeared. I declare a meeting of all squad leaders, the leader commanded. Arut should be pleased with this. The young man, meanwhile, was immersed in his thoughts. Lord Aruth, one of the servants shouted. He lost his chance to get the rest he wanted because he was summoned by the Demon King. Damn, that means all the living squad leaders will gather there. Anyway, I have to keep up appearances, he reasoned. It's better not to conflict. If there is a fight, he won't win. He is the man from the rumors. This is the first time I see him in person, one of the demon girls told her comrade. What, you still can't remember his name? The guy blurted out. He was there at the moment when Harut killed the hero. When the Demon King addressed him, he indifferently replied that he was the demon Arut. Well, now you won't be able to forget his name, the guy finished. I said my name was Dion Hart, the young man thought, hearing the boys. Watch out. I think he's in a bad mood, the demon boy told his girlfriend. The young man did not understand how they could fear him if he was weaker than anyone in this castle. Where does this feeling come from? As if the misunderstanding is only getting deeper over time. But if you look at the positives, thanks to this, no one bothers him. You can't let anyone know they're weak until they're out of the realm, so you have to act confident. There was a guard at the door to the required room. I must act as if I am not afraid of anyone, the young man told himself. Suddenly, two boys noticed Arut. I am the commander of the Zero Squad. Open the door, the blond man commanded. Last but not least, Commander Arut joined the others. At last you are here, said the castle's leader. He couldn't keep his face straight for long. He was captivated by the atmosphere in the room. You must sit next to the Demon King, said Jakar, the commander of the first squad. No matter how you look at him, he seems weak. I can't believe that's not true. I would like to fight him, thought Azild, the head of the third squad. Is the fact that he has reached his goal an excuse for being late? What the hell? The commander of the sixth squad, Velitan, was indignant. I'm sure he had his reasons, said the head of the fourth, Adelia. How dare this mountain of muscles show disrespect to Aruta, thought Riranel, the commander of the 11th squad. Why are so many commanders gathered here? How scary and tense it is. I want to go back to my room, thought the blonde. Are you okay? The king asked him. The guy hastened to apologize for being late, but the black-haired man did not hold a grudge against him because of this. Lord Aruth, I'll pour you some, the servant said. Here it is, thought the satisfied young man. Alcohol. During meetings in the demonic realm, one can drink as much alcohol as one wants, which is why he still showed up despite his reluctance to appear. Damn, this is not what the young man expected. Why did they pour me grape juice? The young man thought. The squad leaders looked at him in bewilderment. There was a deathly silence in the hall. Why, the others' drinks taste like alcohol. Is this really discrimination against me? The guy thought. Enough, Arut. It was I who ordered you to have the juice poured, the king said. Don't you understand why I did it? He added. Is the black-haired one saving alcohol on me because he realized how useless I am? I finally learned the truth, the blonde thought. In that case, this meeting is called to announce its end. The king began. Listen to me before you get angry, for there is a reason why I have called everyone here. Commander of the 6th, share the details of the document you provided me, the chief commanded. Yes, my lord, the warrior began. Despite the fact that the 12th squad has been defending the settlement all this time, the number of monsters has increased dramatically, so the squad can no longer hold the line. After the demons destroyed half of the large population, they evacuated the remaining people behind the fortress wall of a large city. However, they didn't know how long the city would hold out, so they needed reinforcements to defeat the monsters. Then they began to argue about what happened to Chapter 12. Damn, they made such a fuss, the young man thought. Demonic monsters are emotionless creatures. driven only by their instincts and desires. They are so-called failed creations. He couldn't believe that the head of the 12th could lose to them. But what does this have to do with me? The young man thought. The commander was at war every day because there were too many demonic monsters. They did not know the reason why their number had increased sharply. The now-deceased hero killed them, so it's no surprise that he died when the monsters gathered in one settlement. As for the hero, Lord Aruth killed him. So that's the thing. They intend to kill me under this pretext, the young man reasoned. But first of all, the blonde didn't kill anyone. Come on, King, say something, Aruth hoped. Those eyes, I knew it, thought the black-haired man. Then he smiled slyly. Don't worry, the leader said. The Zero Squad will be sent to the site as reinforcements. The young man did not believe what he heard. Go there and relieve your stress, the king added. The head of the demons speaks as if he is sending him on a routine tour of the area. The commander of the first reasoned. The king believed that the commander of the Zeroth would be able to do what the commander of the 12th could not. How strong is Aruth that he has earned such trust? Even though my body is not in the best shape right now, please don't let me go, thought Aruth, hoping for a positive outcome. Doesn't he want to go, Isilde thought? No, it might seem like he's looking for an excuse not to go after hearing the report, the head of the first one explained. However, most likely, he is simply suppressing the fierce desire to go there, calmly assessing the state of his body, he continued. Well, it's just amazing, Isilde said. Not only is he strong, but he is also capable of making balanced decisions. My desire to fight him grew even stronger, the warrior thought. I'm not asking you to overexert yourself, but simply to take command of your squad and relieve stress in that settlement, the king insisted. It's difficult. It's difficult for me, the young man thought. I will never go. I wish he could tell them that. But he wasn't sure he had the right to vote. Well, there was nowhere to go, the young man decided. In that case, the blonde began. I'll go, he shouted at the top of his lungs. After some time, the guy went to the right place in a cart. Well, that day has finally arrived. Since the guy was trying to escape, the right day has only become closer. Aruta, are you getting ready already? You want to go so much, the king asked him. Yes, I really want to, the young man said nervously. He couldn't say that he had already packed a chest of things. It wasn't like he could tell the king that he was going to escape to the Empire, although he would have a hard time there too. After all, there is a mad emperor who sent him here, and a brother who hates the young man to death. Okay, it will be better if he starts thinking in a positive way. I heard that Squad Zero, like Ed, knows their stuff, so I might as well just retreat, the guy reasoned. We'll reach the settlement soon, Ed's assistant said. Do I need to do anything? The blonde thought. Even the Demon King told me not to overwork myself. Now that the worries were over, he was going to enjoy some time alone. A special wine from the demonic realm. Because of the castle's leader, he couldn't drink it during the meeting, but they don't know that he doesn't intend to give up so easily. During the break, the blonde managed to steal it. They say it's so luxurious that you'll go to heaven with bliss. Then, after some deliberation, the young man hurried to take a few sips. Excellent. Demons and drink are definitely good. I felt like a living person again. It's strange. He's acting very quiet, Ed thought. Perhaps the commander is still not feeling well. As soon as the carriage stopped, the young man got out of it. I understand that you want to go on horseback, but think about your health. You should go by carriage, the advisor said. What is he talking about? Of course I have to ride in a carriage. Who even said that I want to saddle a ferocious beast, thought Aruth. Well, okay, he went back. I just looked out of curiosity, Ed thought. Since he had served Harut for a long time, he could tell that he wanted to ride a horse. And since he regularly restrains many of my desires, I want to tell him to do as he wants. But the king's order was given for the sake of Aruth himself, Ed continued to reason. He imagined the head of the castle scolding him. Lieutenant, the settlement is right ahead. When the guys got there, they saw burning ruins in front of them. How terrible, so many people died. I guess the demonic monsters destroyed everything here and left, someone from Squad Zero reported. They are probably nearby. We need to go after them. A moment later, he saw a horde of both goblins and wolves in front of him. Damn, they were waiting for us. Everyone get ready for battle, Ed shouted. Fight for Sir Aruth, who depends on us. After these words, a huge crowd of creatures headed towards the guys. But they were not afraid. They were ready to fight back against the monsters. Some of them wielded spears, while others preferred swords. All the weapons were good against these creatures. Suddenly, giants began to appear on the battlefield. Advisor Ed encountered one of these. Damn, there's no end to them, he blurted out. Sir Ed, pull yourself together, one of his comrades shouted at him. My mother, I let my guard down, he thought, before he died. Your Majesty, can Squad Zero cope alone? You're talking about destroying those monsters, the king asked the squad leader. Since there are quite a lot of monsters, shouldn't we send reinforcements? Everything is fine, they will cope, the head of the castle assured. Besides, even if they face real danger, he is with them. The one who easily destroyed the giant wolf that threatened Ed's life. The blow to the monster was delivered with incredible speed. After his small victory, the young man smiled. Advisor Ed could never have imagined that he would see Aruta on the battlefield. Sir, said the one who could have died a few seconds ago quietly. Sir Arut, he repeated, but this time with more enthusiasm. Thank you. I was about to ask you for help. Are you my enemy too? The young man asked him, pointing his blade in his direction. This is how Arut behaves after he drinks. No, not at all. Ed began to justify himself. In that case, the young man blurted out, shifting his gaze. His opponent is him, that huge wolf. But before the blonde could do anything, he missed the blow. Ed couldn't see what had happened. Sir Arut, he cried out worriedly. The young man was alive, although seriously wounded. He managed to break through the stone wall with the shockwave. It was him, yes, the young man asked himself. Then, gathering his strength, the guy managed to get to his feet. Afterwards, he dealt numerous critical hits to the enemy. Be consumed by this madness. Then, taking hold of the murder weapon more comfortably, the young man dealt the decisive blow to the monster. It is enough to distinguish between an enemy and an ally. So this is what he's like, Ed whispered. Our commander, the head of the Zero Detachment. Leave nothing living behind you. Now it's your turn, Arut informed the already killed enemy. Even if your opponent seems dead to you, do not stop inflicting injuries. Strike fear into your enemies. This is how he managed to survive in this world, having such a weakened body. What? Commander of the Zero Detachment? The Emperor asked with interest. A warrior sent on reconnaissance to the demonic realm reported that the commander of the Zero Squad participated in this massacre. Well, these words make me miss someone, said Emperor Eduardo Desert. If this is how they want to get out of the demonic realm, we must also prepare, he continued. And he already had the perfect candidate for this. I am giving you a special opportunity to achieve an achievement, Eduardo said. Then I will accept any of your orders, the servant said. Why don't you become that talent? Desert asked him. During the 8 Years' War, for the glory of the Empire, this place was drenched in blood. The vanguard fell a noble sacrifice on the front lines. No, they were just the Empire's meat shield. It wasn't a battle, it was hell. I didn't want to be part of this, Arut reasoned. And he had no intention of sacrificing himself. For the sake of the Empire that sent him to this hell. He did everything to survive and refused to die at their request. Managed to survive at any cost. Now his only goal is to take revenge on them. After these memories, he opened his eyes. It was a nightmare, but there was something important there. Is this my room? He thought. But suddenly someone distracted him. Ed and Ben, it turns out the young man slept for a whole day. The guy didn't understand anything, so he asked how he got there. The destruction of the monsters was successful. The creatures fled in fear. Forgive me. If only I were stronger, the advisor tried to justify himself. The young man did not understand what the mission was, in the sense that it was completed. My God, it looks like you have temporary memory loss. Apparently the injury was serious. What, memory loss? The young man did not understand anything. Then, covering his face with his hand, he tried to remember at least something. I remembered opening a bottle of wine, how a huge monster hit him, how Ed watched him and thought the worst, and how he came to his senses after such a blow. All these memories, what does it all mean? He got drunk and started causing trouble, thinking it was because of his wound. But I also heard that Squad Zero completed the mission without a single casualty. Damn, how could this happen? I didn't do anything. Ed and the others figured everything out themselves, or so the blonde thought. Sorry, Ed, I got into trouble, the young man apologized. Not at all, Sir Arut. You were simply incredible and personally defeated countless monsters on the front lines. Ben intervened here. You overestimated yourself. We know about your strength. But now your body is weakened due to the consequences of the battle with the hero. What are you talking about? How could I do such a thing? The young man continued to think. It was only thanks to you that we remained alive, Sir Arut. So we will become stronger so that you can rest with us. Ed began to praise him. Damn, he would go crazy with them. They were putting too much pressure on the blonde. He didn't understand what they were talking about. He had no abilities. The door to the room suddenly opened. Adelia was worried about the young man's health. Keep it down, Azild told her. The head of Squad Zero is recovering. After this, a small quarrel began between them. Suddenly, Jakar appeared and said that both of these commanders were the same. If you came here to visit a guy, then greet him and leave. Don't see that he's uncomfortable. Forgive them, Sir Arut, Jakar blurted out. Just get the hell out of here, the guy thought. But it was impossible to show that something was wrong. He's probably sensitive to noise because he just returned from a mission. I was being careless, Azild thought. Jakar began to speak. I understand how you feel. But I ask you to refrain from fighting within the walls of the Demon King's castle. The young man doesn't understand what he's talking about. Damn, if they find out how weak I am, they won't show mercy, the blonde thought. Right, he could teach them this for the sake of his future. They may spare him even after they find out how weak he is. Now you need to choose your words carefully. His voice trembled. Azild and Jakar watched closely as the boy tried to convey something to them. The girl also listened attentively to the commander of the Zero Detachment. There is no need to show violence just because I am angry. It does not hurt to show mercy sometimes. We should be kinder to our neighbors, the young man blurted out. Okay, he thought it would work. We will keep this in mind, 3 commanders reported. What kind of atmosphere is this? Does this really look like a sermon? He's terrifying even when he forgives, Jakar thought. There is so much talk about you in the castle. They say that you killed half of all the creatures with your own hands, the maiden declared. Are you all right, Sir Harut? She asked. What kind of stupid rumors are circulating about him? At this rate, he'll start taking credit for other people's achievements. Ed showed up, beaming with happiness. The young man didn't understand what kind of expression he had on his face. Here Azil joined the conversation. I also heard stories of heroism, and came to ask for a favor. The conversation takes a sinister turn. In fact, he asked for a mere trifle, as soon as the blonde had fully recovered. Then can he ask for sparring? Hell, this isn't even a fight with a regular demon. And the sparring between me and the commander of the 3rd Detachment, leading the elite troops to protect the king, made the guy nervous. Sparring with me, the young man said, perplexed. Yes, Azil began. I constantly hear about your magnificence, so I would like you to teach me a few things. Come to think of it, the commander of the Zero hasn't sparred with anyone since taking office. I'd also like to see the level of his skills, the head of the 1st squad reasoned. The girl in charge of the 4th squad was already planning to bring as many spectators as possible. Meanwhile, the young man did not understand how everything had already been decided for him. But they looked at him so sweetly that it was difficult to refuse them. Why do they decide everything themselves? Does that even make sense? I'll be torn into a million pieces by just one blow from him. The blonde continued to bury himself. I think it will be quite difficult to accept this sparring, since I still haven't recovered from the battle with the monsters and my strength. God, what nonsense am I talking about? The guy thought. He was avoiding battle, but Azil didn't understand why. Suddenly, the 2 commanders' attention was drawn to Jakar's words. You are so confident even against the commander. He was always curious why the commander of the Zero squad did not take part in sparring. But now everything fell into place. In fact, Arut was concerned about the health of his opponent. Hearing this, both commanders looked questioningly at Jakar. Then Azil turned his gaze to Arut. Come on, shouted the combat leader of the squad. The white-haired youth did not understand what was going on. Exactly. Refusal is even for the best. Besides, not much time has passed since his last battle, so it will be difficult for him to control himself. Therefore, sparring will only end in someone's death. And he has complete confidence in his victory, thought Azild. What a crazy determination this guy has. He is an incredible talent, recognized by the Demon King. No matter how upsetting it is for him, he cannot guarantee his victory, or say that he is ready to die. He does not have the courage to fight the head of the Zero. Although it hurts my pride, I thank you for listening to me, Azild said. What? He accepted the refusal, wondered Arut. As expected, Sir is incredible. He made these hostile commanders treat him with respect. I don't know why, but somehow I managed to avoid sparring, Arut reasoned. But I didn't give up. When I gain enough strength and confidence that I won't die, I will ask for sparring again, Azild said. Then the leader of the squad's gaze changed. Just give up already, the young man reasoned. Excellent. The combat leader of the squad felt unprecedented enthusiasm after making his promise. Well, I'm off to training, Azild said, disappearing behind the door. All the boys looked after him. He hadn't had the motivation to do anything for a long time, but you were able to light a fire in him, Jakar stated. Sir Aruth, damn, his temperature is rising again, Ed said. Sorry, but he needs rest at the moment. Then the heads of the detachments said goodbye to him. Escaping from the demonic realm was all that was on his mind. By the way, when you are recovered enough to spar with the head of the 3rd, can I ask the same thing? Jakar asked as he said goodbye. I'll be looking forward to it, he added. After hearing this news, the young man fell unconscious. Sir, calm down, his heart is beating like crazy. After a while, when he felt better, he went for a walk around the castle. He leaned against one of the columns when he was already completely tired. I remembered Ed's words about the young man having to meet his squad. If you want to get better as quickly as possible, add simple exercises to your routine, Ben advised. You want to see the Zero squad? I will train hard to fulfill the promise. Such were the words of the advisor. These thoughts began to give the young man a headache. He couldn't think of anything better to do than kick the stone out of anger. He fell on the head of one of the demons. They, angry, turned around to look at the one who did it. What an asshole, muttered the one who got hit on the head with a stone. But there was no way to retreat. Well, we've arrived, thought Arut. Couldn't he have flown away into someone else's head? Greetings, Commander of Squad Zero. Sorry for causing you trouble. The hero stood and did not understand why they were treating him like this. We taught her wisdom, since she blocked the way, being a lower incubus, but we have already sorted everything out and will not interfere with you anymore, Sir Arut, said one of the demons. The young man heard that incubi are the lowest demons in the hierarchy of the demonic world, so it turns out they have formed a group for bullying. I don't think he's in a good mood. It's better to just leave, thought the one who got hit in the head with a stone. It was good that they left on their own, although he didn't know why. But what he should do with this child, since this was the first time he had seen a demon weaker than him, this was worrying. The girl closed her eyes and heard that he usually behaved quietly. But if he suddenly became angry, he would display cruelty unheard of even for demons. This time she really could have died. But suddenly the young man extended his hand to her and said, "You can get up. Please don't worry," he continued. "Those bastards are already far away. They won't bother you anymore." His eyes look at me not with disgust, but rather with good intentions, the girl noted. No one had treated her like this for a long time, but the young man didn't care that the maiden was an incubus. "Since I'm human, do you feel disgusted by me?" the guy asked her. "Of course not. How is that possible?" "It's the same with me. Don't worry," the blonde said. "I am completely delighted. No one has ever treated me like this," the girl said. "I would like to repay you. Do you have a spare minute?" she asked. The young man was taken aback by what he heard. He did not understand what they wanted from him. Meanwhile, the door to Aruta's room opened. "How are you feeling?" asked the head of the castle, and the king wondered where he had gone. "Just a minute, you say. It's not like I have anything to do," the guy began. "Yes, I want to repay you for your help by giving you a tour of the garden and giving you some herbs that relieve fatigue. Since you are very busy being the squad leader, if you don't have time, I will understand," she continued to insist. "There's even a garden here," the young man wondered. "Sorry for the late greeting. Hello, sir." Her name was Hien, the gardener who looked after all the plants in the Demon King's castle. Wow, even in the demonic realm there is such a peaceful profession. Then a thought entered his head. A garden with beautiful flowers, greenery, and fresh air. Sounds like the perfect place to calm his nerves. So he asked the maiden to show him all the beauty of the garden. Finally I can breathe a sigh of relief, he thought. After a while, they reached the place they needed. What a beautiful garden, Harut admired. Refreshing aroma of greenery and fresh air. Yes, that's exactly it, the healing one. But he didn't have time to finish. How he was immediately attacked by a living flower. The maiden hastened to reassure him. "Little flower, you can't attack Sir Arut like that. Or should I teach you a lesson again?" she said. "I'm sorry, Sir Arut. I think he's just happy you came." Since this was the first time he had seen a demon weaker than him, it was worrying. "I take that back," he thought. "If you think about it, this garden only looks normal at first glance. There are only such plants inside the garden itself. We need to get out of here quickly." "Excuse me, but an urgent matter has come up, so I have to go," the blonde man stated, to which the girl was perplexed. Because inside the garden there were much cooler plants. This is not what he wanted. That is, a training ground. "Yes, right now I need to see my squad. Since I have been away from them for a long time, I feel that I must see them immediately," the young man told her. In short, goodbye. The girl didn't have time to say anything after him. He left, judging by the haste, and indeed he was very busy. "What's wrong? Are you also sad that he left?" she asked the flower. "Do you think he will come back to us?" she asked herself. True, she needed to see him again and prepare a gift. She should give him the cutest plant from the garden. "I still have goosebumps. It was stupid to think that there would be someone normal inside the castle," the young man reasoned. "Yes, it's best indoors, because there are dangers everywhere outside." Although he used it as an excuse, but he really needs to see Squad Zero. Due to the shame of the chaos he had caused while drunk, he postponed the meeting, but the Demon King and Ed continued to insist on it. "Yes, since I'm outside, I should at least show myself to them," thought the blonde. Because of today's traumatic experience, he is no longer afraid to meet them. "There is no one here. I have fulfilled my task of coming, so I can leave," he thought. What are these wooden swords? Do they practice on them or something? While destroying monsters, the guy was not himself and did not remember anything. He thought that this was a great opportunity to test himself. Then suddenly the young man began to sink to the ground. Sword, he didn't think that the weapon would be so heavy. "It's true. I can hardly lift a wooden sword, let alone an iron one," Arut began to berate himself. "Damn my weakness. I just need to get used to using a dagger," he reasoned. Then something caught the young man's attention. The members of his squad were standing at the door as they appeared here. Well, he hoped that they hadn't managed to see anything. Then he had to tense his facial muscles again, to appear as a strong and calm leader in front of his people. "Welcome. Are you feeling well?" "It's been a while since you've seen us," someone from the squad asked. "We were already starting to worry, and now we were on a break. We weren't slacking off at all," his team member justified himself. Then all the boys pounced on him at once and began to praise him. "Calm down, I'm fine, so relax," the young man said. He always said that, but he still looked tired. The guy didn't understand why they were looking at me like that. The blonde wanted to come right after the mission, but due to various circumstances he couldn't. "You did well last time," Arut decided to tell them. "I came to tell you this, which I am sure you would have done just fine without my intervention," he added. One of the squad members watched the young man closely. "You can continue training?" After these words, Arut twisted his leg. "Damn, she buckled," he said as she fell. If he fell, it would be terribly humiliating, so he had to pull himself together. Having thrust the sword into the floor, he was able to stay on his feet, but behind him he heard someone say, "Die." "How did you dodge?" asked the hooded man. "What just happened? Did someone really attack him?" "It was dangerous. He had to run away. But in front of him he noticed someone's face. I couldn't think of anything better to do than hit him with all my might." He did it by accident, so his mouth dropped open in amazement. The one who missed the young man's blow started bleeding from the nose. Then Arut backed away a little from the body. "You bastard," the agent began to curse. "Stop this face," thought the young man. It turns out that a man attacked him. The young man did not understand how he managed to get into this castle. If the Zero Squad doesn't know him either, then he really is an outsider. Damn, I need to get out of here quickly, the agent thought. Then something caught his attention. The way Arut's gaze changed, and the way he raised the wooden sword above his head. The young man looked with all his hatred at the man who had made his way to the Zero detachment. If I let him get away, I'll be putting myself in danger, the blonde thought. In a moment, the deed was done. "Report what happened to the Demon King and lock him up," the guy commanded. After what he had done, he walked slowly towards the exit. "Sir Arut is disappointed in us. I am sure that yes, we allowed an outsider to enter the training ground, and at the same time, the commander caught him," thought one of the subordinates. The blonde's movements were so smooth and fast. Our commander, leisurely, as if taking a stroll, continued to reason. Managed to dodge the attack with incredible speed, and even managed to attack the enemy in response. Moreover, he caught the stranger when he tried to escape, and instantly took control of the situation. The status of the commander of the Zero detachment is so high that his mere presence overshadows all others. "I will train even harder to be recognized," the squad member reasoned. "There is not a minute to lose. Let's start training together right now," he shouted to the team. "We will do this until we become worthy comrades of Sir Arut. No rest from today." "Damn, I overdid it," thought Arut, raising the wooden sword. "Now my wrist hurts. Since I've done a great job with the tedious task, I'll go and rest in my room," he reasoned. Meanwhile, the next day had already arrived. "The guy slept so well, I wonder how much time has passed." "You must be very tired. You slept so peacefully," the head of the castle said. "I'm dreaming about this," the young man asked, to which he received a negative answer from the black-haired man. "Your Majesty, what are you doing here?" asked Arut. "Sorry to disturb you so soon after you wake up. But could you spare me a little time?" the leader asked. It must be something urgent if he was waiting for me to wake up, the young man thought. "This concerns an outsider," asked Arut. "Right, why don't you come with me?" asked the king. Then they went up the stairs to the dungeon. An underground prison. An outsider should be imprisoned here. But why did he bring me here? Perhaps this agent told the Lord something about me, Arut reasoned in his head. Or is he really going to use me to set an example, he continued. The man was alive, but it was clear that he had been severely tortured. What a nightmare. What did they do to him that night? Arut wondered. "Look at him. Does he seem familiar to you?" asked his leader. "Let me go, I'll finish you off," the man screamed. Possesses the brute strength to defeat a demon despite being human. Arut stood there, unable to move or say anything. But then a great idea came into his head. Hero. The hero, when faced with death during the battle with the Demon King, can take two paths. Or self-destruct, causing incredible harm to the king. Or pay with your life to spread the power across the continent to create a hero fragment. Most heroes choose the second one out of fear that their power will fade. But officially, only those who have earned this status through their achievements, receiving boundless fame, receive such status. It's not even funny to send a hero to a demonic realm. No, it would be much more correct to call him a candidate for hero, or what remains of him. True, if he were the official hero of the Empire, he would not be so weak. But the Emperor would not have sent a candidate here without a reason. "Your Majesty," the young man addressed the king. The Lord's eyes changed completely. "Let me be alone with this man," he asked kindly. "Okay, I'll wait outside the cell," the black-haired man said. There was no message. Its target was only me. But why? The blonde reasoned. "Dion Hart, you fucking traitor," the man blurted out. What he heard amazed the young man. "You earned the Emperor's trust and became a hero of the Empire. But then you betrayed us and defected to the demons." The prisoner was indignant. "Ha ha ha. I never would have thought that he would deliver a message in such a way." The young man laughed. "So you must be a bargaining chip." "It's a lie. I received an important mission to eliminate a traitor to His Imperial Majesty," the prisoner began to argue. "No, that's not true. And the proof of that is that you call me a traitor," the young man retorted. "What sins have you committed that you were thrown out like this?" he asked. "His Majesty," said the young man, placing his hand on the captive's shoulder. "He is aware of everything," the boy said quietly. The blonde man listed the reason why I am here and my goal. Everything. "In that case, it really is. Why did the Emperor send you here? To a dangerous demonic realm? To eliminate a traitor?" This question just couldn't leave the prisoner's head. "Well, you have time to think before you die," Arut said as he said goodbye. "Emperor, you son of a bitch, I will not forgive you," came from the cell. What superficial devotion. I just wasted my time, the guy thought. "Have you finished yet?" the black-haired man asked him. "Judging by your face, your curiosity was satisfied. So, what should I do with this scumbag now?" He gave the blonde a choice. "The decision is yours, your highness, but it would be better to kill him," said Arut. "Well, fine, I'll sort it all out," the king said. "But you will have to do something for me in return," he added. Arut looked at the owner of the castle in bewilderment. The first squad needs help. They are not facing a candidate for a hero, but a real one. This request confused the boy, but he didn't show it. As you know, heroes and demons don't get along, right? If the hero who appeared at the forefront is not a fragment that the Emperor can easily discard, but the real one, the average demons don't even come close to him. Moreover, I am also interested, the black-haired man stated. What is the Emperor's intention if he sent both the fragment and the real hero here? So please sort out this mission. Then, for a while, the young man was immersed in his thoughts. Then, suddenly opening his eyes, he wondered how he had ended up here. You need to get ready to go, so let's go, the leader said. The young man did not understand where I was going. After a while, he was ready to provide assistance to the first detachment. He remembered following the leader into the underground prison. But as soon as he came to his senses, he was immediately sent on some mission. Sir Arut, preparations for departure are complete, Ed stated. I understand, the blonde said without any mood. And also that a new hero has appeared. Since I'm going there, it's worth at least looking at the face of this hero, thought the young man. Ed knew that Arut had quenched his thirst by going out to destroy monsters. I've heard that terrible things are happening on the front lines, but looking at the commander's face, you can see happiness, as if he were going on vacation, the advisor reasoned. Sir Harut, the girl on the broom cried. Ririnel waved her hand at the young man. She also added that she misses him very much. The guy looked at her questioningly. What are you doing here? She immediately received this question after landing. I heard you were going to the front lines, she said shyly. That's why I wanted to give you this, she said, handing him the necklace. It looks suspicious. Why is she giving it to me? The blonde didn't understand. I have put a protective spell on it, the maiden declared. So it will not let you die at least once. She gives it to me herself, so obviously I should accept such a gift, thought the blonde. Without realizing it, I opened up, he caught himself thinking. Then he slowly began to remove his hand from Ririnel's head. Well, the girl didn't look upset, so the guy could breathe a sigh of relief. I know the commander is strong, but I was worried about him because of the consequences of the last battle. But now I can breathe a sigh of relief thanks to Miss Ririnel's pendant, Ed reasoned. You're so worried about him. The head of the Zero Squad has a simply wonderful lieutenant. Thanks to their love for Arut, Ed and Ririnel were able to find common ground. Great, do whatever you want, he said discontentedly. Once in the carriage, the young man began to reflect on the consequences that arose after the hero's murder. To clarify this point, it didn't hold back the hero from exploding, nor did it absorb the energy from his self-destruction. These are all the people that remain? They have lost many? Sir Hart, someone addressed him. He was a hero. He asked the young man to stay here. Are you serious? The blonde decided to clarify. I will finish this battle alone, with the Empire's detachment, the green-eyed man declared. This is more than enough, the hero added. Since this Demon King was known as the strongest in history, the hero could not guarantee Dion's safety. But we also need someone to report the results of the battle to the Empire. I entrust this to you, Sir Hart, the hero declared. And he needed to do something while he was alive. He knew why the hero of the last war had set out on this journey. Because you need higher merits to fulfill your desire, right? The hero asked Hart. If you come back with results now, it will be a great achievement, he added. In any case, if even your past achievements weren't enough for you to set out on this mission, what did you wish to receive from the Emperor? He asked the blonde. Well, okay, I'll hear when I get back, he finished. And I will return, the hero assured him. How much time has passed, I wonder? Have they finished their battle, I want to know. But my legs won't obey, the young man thought. I didn't know if it was due to guilt, shame, or fear, or perhaps all of it together. We need to at least look at the results of the battle. If they win, I'll bring them back, and if not, I'll report it. Everything should be fine if I just take a look from afar. That was Hart's plan. After a while, Dion found the right place. What he saw shocked him greatly. The Demon King and his retinue appeared before the hero. That's it, it's too overwhelming a sight. Then the head of the castle came closer to the hero, and he looked at him haughtily. I asked him a question, your last words. The hero only smiled sarcastically at this. Then, a moment later, a huge bright column of light began to emanate from the hero. Dion Hart was there. He saw absolutely everything. Self-destruction, the blonde wondered. This is how it all ended. I need to inform the Empire. Hey, who are you, the huge giant? Asked the young man. Demon, the blonde said uncertainly. There was a small bug hiding here. Dion was confused. He didn't know what to do. While he stood there, doing nothing, the monster began to swing. Then he delivered a powerful blow to the ground. Dion Hart narrowly escaped such an attack. Your mother, why the hell did you start swinging your sword like that? Then he managed to dodge another possible blow. Damn, he managed to get me a little bit, the guy thought. At this rate, he won't be able to escape. It needs to be slowed down somehow. The young man ran towards the monster's left leg. Then, dodging a series of attacks from the giant, the blonde continued his advance to the desired part of the enemy's body, having waited for the opportune moment when the monster knelt down. You little son of a bitch, screamed the devil's spawn. But the boy didn't hear this. He had already made a long jump in order to hit the enemy's weak spot. The next such place was the knee. A moment later, after all the manipulations had been carried out, the young man found himself in the air. Neck, a second later he pierced it into this giant. But he had enough strength to call the blonde a name. Damn, the wound isn't too deep. I knew that with my strength it would be difficult to break through such tough skin. So what should I do now? He reasoned. The ground on the battlefield began to crumble. While the giant was watching this, he received another blow to the neck with a blade. Then, unable to keep his balance, he quickly fell. And Dion Hart went flying to the ground with him, holding onto his blade. Damn it, he cursed, rapidly approaching the ground. A moment later, the young man and his opponent fell. One of the fighters was thrown to the side by the shockwave. What's going on? The girl asked, covering her face with her hand. The young man began to rise slowly after such a blow. I survived, he thought, because I didn't think it would turn out like this. Oh, that's right, a huge ogre, how could he forget? I wonder if he's dead, the blonde wondered. I suppose he could have been stabbed. Damn, that's not what I need to think about now. After all, the young man was now in the very center of the enemy camp. Commander of the 7th Squad, who is this man? Why is he so strong? What? I managed to kill their commander, right in front of their eyes. The young man did not believe. Stop, first I needed to calm down. Who the hell is that looking at me, Dion thought. This is the Demon King. It seems he wants to get rid of me on the spot, he reasoned. But then the blonde heard a familiar voice. Dion, what are you doing here? You knew from the very beginning that I was going to self-destruct. Sorry, I wanted to do my duty, the blonde said. You really hoped that you would at least survive. What? The young man asked himself. Stop the process. World, please, this is my last hope. Let this man live, said the hero. After that, an explosion occurred. The hero held the blonde man's hands with his phantom hands. Please let him have at least a fragment, the green-eyed man continued. The young man did not understand what was happening to him. Meanwhile, the Demon King watched them closely. This light is different from self-destruction. Is the hero trying to transfer his power to it? It can't be. How is this even possible? The glow disappeared. The former hero fell dead on the blonde's chest. Fool, thought the young man, looking at his dead comrade. He should have known that the hero's powers could not be overcome by willpower alone. Then the blonde carefully laid his comrade's body on the ground. He thought for a moment, but as expected, his body was unable to accept such power. After all, he is still the weakest. What was it? The man killed the hero. It looks like he stopped him from self-destruction and killed him. But it seems that he is experiencing terrible agony. Damn, I'm vomiting blood again. It's because of falling from the cliff, the young man thought. Not that it mattered now, but he wouldn't be able to overcome all these demons. Wow, how can you laugh in such a situation, was the question. And then another one. What's your name? I don't understand what he's up to, but it's in my best interest to please him, the blonde thought. Dion Hart. So, okay, I like it. Would you like to join my army? The black-haired man asked him. This question caught the guy off guard. He didn't understand what the ruler really wanted. The king added, don't worry about the confrontation between people and demons. Once you see what's going on here, they'll stop even dreaming of confrontation. Dion looked again at the dead commander of the 7th Squad, then at the hero, his former comrade. He was trying to survive. He had no choice, but he didn't think he would do it this way. It all started from that day. All the residents, visitors to the Demon King's castle, even including the leader himself, share an unrealistic opinion about his outstanding power. Sir Arat, we have arrived, Ed reported. The border between two worlds is the front line, where the endless confrontation between demons and the Empire takes place. Now the young man also arrived at such a place. I was expecting you, Jakar said. Judging by his appearance, things were really bad here. I should have refused him right then, the young man caught himself thinking. But if you think about it, he had no choice. As expected, his expression softened after he left the castle. It's quiet here for now, so you can get ready, Sir Arut, Jakar said. Besides, I'm not talking about the squad, but about you, he added. He wanted the young man to join the battle as soon as the Empire's troops appeared on the horizon. You want me to fight? The guy couldn't believe it. The front line of the human world, the barracks of the Empire. You say the commander of the Zero Detachment? Asked the warrior. Yes, that's right. According to our intelligence, the commander of the Zero Detachment will take part in the battle, the agent reported. What a headache. And why did this notorious bastard show up at the front line? Commander of Squad Zero, Demon King's Joker. One who is even more outstanding than the head of the first, who is usually stronger than the other 12 commanders. What should we do? The advisor asked the commander-in-chief of the light side, to which he replied that an assassin would be sent. What? He won't be able to cope with his task, the advisor shouted. If the head of the Zero Detachment really exists, then we will do this, the commander declared. I've heard rumors about him, but no one has been able to confirm them yet, he added. Perhaps his existence is just an illusion created to raise the fighting spirit of the demons, concluded Cruel, the hero of the people. If they can find out the truth by sending an assassin, that will already be an achievement. Meanwhile, the young man's hand was being bandaged. While Ed was doing his work, Arut was completely immersed in his thoughts. He didn't believe that he would actually have to take part in the battle. "Sir Arut, are you feeling well?" asked his advisor. It was difficult for him to bandage the head because he was shaking. "Everything is fine," the young man declared. "No need to be so cautious, Ed," he added. "Excuse me," the advisor asked in surprise. "How can you say such a thing? We don't know at all when the battle will begin. The sun will rise soon for people, so we need to bandage you more carefully," Ed said. The young man was pleased with the fact that the advisor was so concerned about him. "But I didn't understand what it was about him that made me love him. No matter how you look at it, I'm a useless little man," thought Arut. "Why does Ed stay with me no matter what? Maybe he is an angel and not a demon?" The blonde continued to reason in his head. "The fabric was created specifically by the Demon King using magic. It is able to reflect the sun and maintain body temperature, and as long as it is intact, it can be reused." "I heard," the young man said. The head tried. All parts of the guy's body were visible through it. "Judging by the way the king uses magic without control, he values you very much, Sir Arut," Ed stated. "Magic is something that disrupts the order of the world. Demon magic is limited and cannot be replenished. Moreover, they say that the more energy the demon has expended, the faster the hero will appear. If he uses it so much, it means he is confident of his victory," the blonde thought. A moment later, the young man was dressed in his everyday clothes. Ed suddenly appeared and, as usual, began to praise the young man. "I have no one else to trust, so take care of me," thought Arut. Suddenly, he announced that he would go to check on the body of the commander of the 9th Detachment. Ed continued to think that his commander had not recovered from the previous battle, so Aruta's enthusiasm amazed him. "I intend to buy time and find a place to hide," thought the young man. Here the demons immediately noticed and recognized him. Some of them didn't believe that the commander of the 0 Detachment actually appeared before them. Their fighting spirit immediately rose after this meeting. As expected, the Demon King's decision turned out to be correct. His mere presence lifted the spirit, Jakar thought. "Please don't focus on me." These were the blonde's thoughts when he met the crowd. Meanwhile, the assassin was watching the blonde. He couldn't believe the fact that the commander of Squad 0 actually existed. This indifferent behavior and incredible pressure coming from Arut, even though he is wearing a robe. He may be strong, but not as strong as they say, the killer was sure. "Since I'm here, I might as well test his skills," he thought. The assassin hastened to throw a poisoned dart at the guy. Arut didn't even suspect that they were going to kill him at that moment. But to the killer's surprise, the guy dodged. Looking at the pose the blonde found himself in, he couldn't believe his eyes. Then, for some unknown reason, the young man's eyes looked up. "I was discovered so quickly," the killer wondered. "Damn, I almost fell again because of the rock. Those freaks were actually clearing the path." Arut was indignant. One of the demons approached him and asked, "Is something wrong with you, sir?" "Just warming up," the blonde replied coldly. Since there was no good place to hide here, it was better not to wander around stumbling over stones, but just stay in the tent, the young man thought. The assassin didn't understand what it was if the head of the 0 group was going into the tent. Did that mean the killer was safe? No, he doesn't want his subordinates to know about me. He's only going to inform trusted people so that they can take care of me, the masked man reasoned. While he was overwhelmed by a bunch of questions, an advisor approached Arut with a bottle of alcohol. "You're already back?" the young man asked. Then Arut suddenly asked Ed if he knew the new human hero. "He wears a helmet. No one has seen his face." The head of the 2nd Squad studied him. The killer sat silently and watched the conversation. He was frightened by the fact that the commander of the 0 Squad said nothing about the killer, and immediately began to find out information about Cruel. As he sat down on the chair, the young man noticed something. "Drink," the blonde thought enthusiastically. "Wow, so he doesn't let me drink, but he drinks himself," he thought about his advisor. "It's not what you think. I put it out there for you," Ed justified himself. His anger overshadowed the advisor's words, but he immediately became kinder after he realized that he could drink it. "Since we're on the battlefield, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have a little drink to calm our nerves," the advisor said, pouring the drink. Ed thought that it was okay. If the commander allowed himself a little alcohol during the battle, he was free to do whatever he wanted. Taking the glass in his hand, the young man's face changed. He slowly began to turn back. The blonde man told the advisor that he had a feeling that there was a stranger present here. Then, realizing that this was nonsense, he clutched the glass even tighter. The assassin was still in his position. "What a fool. He was distracted by the stone I threw. Fortunately, he didn't notice how I poisoned his wine," thought the killer. He added a deadly poison that could kill anyone in one sip. Arut almost took a sip of this poison. "Yes, this is the end of the commander of the 0 Squad," thought the man in the mask. The glass was already close to the guy's lips. "Sir Arut, is something wrong?" his advisor asked. But he didn't answer. He just threw the glass of alcohol on the floor. This gesture really scared the killer. "There is a traitor among us," declared Arut. Advisor Ed just looked around awkwardly, trying to understand what had happened. Then, a moment later, Arut came to his senses. He didn't understand why his glass of alcohol ended up on the floor. After all, the young man only wanted to brush off the annoying fly. "Why the hell are you bothering me? Fly away from here, insect," he said. It was at that moment that the glass with his drink flew out of his hands. "Ed, I didn't mean to." The blonde immediately began to justify himself. Then something interesting caught his attention. The mixture that was poured into the glass began to boil and burn the floor. "Poison," Advisor Ed said slowly. "Was my drink poisoned?" Harut wondered. Ed then looked up at the possible spot where the person who poisoned the alcohol might have been sitting. "There was a stranger here," the advisor said. The killer, meanwhile, was already in the human kingdom. He wanted to immediately report what he had seen to Sir Cruel. "The abilities of the Zero Squad commander are not overrated. He truly must be reckoned with. He is dangerous for the Empire," the killer added. "Someone dared to get in here. Their target was the head of the Zero," Jakar reported. His subordinates listened to him but could not say anything sensible. "Your punishment will come later, until you make sure that there are no more strangers here," the commander of the first one commanded. Arut stood behind him and watched his comrade work. "Wow, I could really die," he thought. "Sir Arut, I apologize," Ed said. Because of his stupidity, he did not fully notice the stranger. "I didn't think anyone could pass you by," the young man said. Because of that damn killer, he never got a chance to drink. Suddenly, in the hands of one of the demons, he noticed something. The blonde asked the advisor if the bottle was sealed before Ed began pouring it. "Yes," the worried boy answered. Then, without hesitating for a second, the young man took the demon by the shoulder, and he took the drink from him, simultaneously asking Ed if he was sure that the glass had been sent. This meant only one thing: drinking from the bottle was completely safe. Meanwhile, the human hero was studying something on the map. He remembered the killer's words about the commander of the Zero Detachment. The assassin was no small fry, yet he returned completely bewildered. Now that the existence of the Demon King's secret weapon has been confirmed, the hero's army needed one bastard. "You mean another hero?" the advisor clarified with Cruel. "True, but since he is not here, we can only retreat," the hero declared. "But if we do this, it will look like we are afraid of this commander of the Zero Detachment." The advisor was indignant. "We will retreat," the hero repeated. "But if anyone follows them, they will be destroyed, no doubt," he added. There was no need to take up arms for the sake of useless barren lands. "Let's retreat without showing our weak side," thought Cruel. "Okay, I'll pass on your message to those on the battlefield." But the advisor decided to clarify what will tell the Emperor. "I received orders to take back the Empire's lands captured by demons, not to expand the territory," the hero declared. "The first, fortunately, they have already accomplished. We don't need any more friction between the kingdoms, so we're retreating," Cruel added. He shouldn't have jumped above his head and ruined his debut as a hero. He's come this far, and won't let anyone ruin his reputation. They could only hope that the commander of Squad Zero would not cause chaos. Suddenly, a messenger ran into the tent. He reported that the demon troops were advancing towards them. He also added that the commander of the Zero Detachment himself is leading them. "Damn, the whole plan is in vain," thought the hero. Meanwhile, Arut took the lives of the poor fellows without a drop of regret. He looked like a psycho during this action. During the murder, he encountered a soldier in a white uniform. He didn't kill him right away. First, he cut off his arm. Then, seeing how he was suffering, he decided to reward the warrior with a quick death. Ed was also present on the battlefield and helped his master as best he could. He drank the whole bottle, so now he is absolutely drunk, the advisor thought. Having thrown the poor fellow on the floor, I decided that everything was working out for the best now. The warrior looked at Arut and saw the devil in him. This was the only word he could use to describe the crazy blonde. "I must fight to survive." Such a thought appeared in the warrior's head. But he couldn't. Fear gripped his body. The young man could have gotten rid of the warrior without any problem. But instead, he cleaned the blood from the dagger, and he asked the boy in white clothes why he was sitting there. "If you want to live, you have to try," the young man continued. "And if you don't try, you'll die quickly just like that," he added. After his bravado, Arut was attacked by someone. The warrior of the light side was glad. His cries for help were heard. The blow sent Arut flying into a tree. The boy's hair quickly became covered in blood. "Sir Aruth!" shouted the advisor, running to help. "Are you okay?" he asked, trying to help the commander. "How dare you harm Sir Aruth?" Ed asked, turning to face his attacker. This man, he looked familiar. That's right, it dawned on Ed. A hero stood before him. Cruel said that he intended to get rid of the young man with just one blow. The advisor still stood in a stupor and could not move. Then, after the blonde man started coughing, Ed asked about his health again. The young man handed him some artifact. Miss Ririnel's protective pendant saved the head of the Zero from death. If it weren't for him, this attack would have been Arut's last. The warrior of the light side finally raised his face. He looked at the guy in armor as if he were God. "Cruel, the new hero of the Empire, is the star of the battlefield. Finally, I started talking, boy." Saved, after these words, his head flew off his shoulders. It all happened so quickly that he didn't even have time to understand what had happened. Meanwhile, Arut was already heading towards the hero. The warrior in armor was unwavering and studied Aruta carefully. "So you are the new hero?" the blonde asked him. "That's what they call me, although I don't think I deserve the title," he said. Yes, I've heard a lot about you, the young man blurted out. But it seems that your voice is familiar to me. We have already met, asked Arut. Then the blonde asked the hero to take off his helmet, to which he naturally refused. This was expected, the young man said. Well then, he blurted out, taking the dagger more comfortably. And a moment later, he left the place where he stood. Finding himself right in front of the enemy, he shouted, "Then I'll do it myself." Cruella was amazed by the speed of the leader of the Zero Squad. With difficulty, he managed to dodge the blade strike. Quick, I lost sight of him for a moment, he thought. But that doesn't mean I won't be able to track your movements, the hero shouted, parrying the blonde's attack. A moment later, both of them moved away from each other. You dodged it. You must be good, Arut said, quickly heading towards the enemy. The hero did the same thing. The blades crossed once more. The young man then tried to verbally crush his opponent, reminding him that Cruel did not feel like a hero. I don't think there is a single reason to confirm this, the hero said. Even though his speed was annoying, Cruel thought. Aruta's attacks were not powerful enough. After realizing this, he was able to easily deprive the blonde of his weapon. This made the task of destroying the hero much more difficult. He thought he could handle it if he continued to put pressure on his opponent with his strength and endurance. Then Arut looked with hatred at the warrior in armor. He took a spare dagger out of its sheath, and he skillfully struck the enemy. But his hero also managed to reflect it. All this began to bore the young man. He jumped far back from his opponent. Why were his attacks so weak? Was the head of the Zero not fighting at full strength? The hero wondered. I've already noticed, the young man wondered. Then he said, not bad, but that's all for today. How dare you, the hero was indignant. The war is not over yet. No, that's all, the blonde insisted. The hero had already managed to defeat the commander of the 9th Squad. Yet even after Cruel had returned the Empire's lands, he did not seem satisfied. The young man suggested to his opponent that they should not waste energy, and agree that they would both defend the territory. The boy was right, thought Cruel, but he could continue the battle and destroy the blonde. Then the hero slowly turned his head back. There he saw the remnants of his army, wounded and sad. I lost control for a moment, he thought. This time I will retreat, Cruel declared. That's great, Arut shouted to him as he said goodbye. I hope I never meet you again, he whispered. We are leaving too, Cruel informed his army. We finally forced them to retreat, one of the demons reported. It's all thanks to Sir Arut, another agreed. Jakar had been watching Arut this whole time and found both advantages and disadvantages in the blonde's actions. But he wasn't going to say anything. There was no need to spoil the mood of the head of the Zero Squad. Putting his hand on the young man's shoulder, he said, Good job. Damn body, Arut hissed quietly. And then he fell with his whole body on Jakar. This damn body, the blonde repeated. Then with his bloody hand, he grabbed the commander of the first detachment. His whole body was burning. Even in this state, he managed to show strength and valor, the elf thought. And I was wondering why he suddenly stopped fighting so that no one would notice his condition. Jakar continued to reason. Ultimately, his defeat directly impacts the confidence of the king's army. He fought even in that condition. Incredible. The commander of the Zero Squad appeared out of nowhere and defended the demon's positions, killed the former head of the 7th Squad, and he managed to stop the hero from self-destruction. Even though I know I can't acknowledge him, I still feel out of place, Jakar thought. Be that as it may, the head of the first one smiled. Today, the young man showed why he is the commander of the Zero detachment. Miss Ririnel, is something the matter with you? Asked her servant. He broke, she screamed. The younger demon didn't understand what she was talking about. The servant assumed that they were talking about the barrier, but the maiden said that no, she meant the pendant. Ririnel was sure that her comrade was now in trouble. She stated that she was going there immediately, which greatly surprised the younger demon. This cannot be done. His Majesty ordered you to guard the barrier, he shouted. But the girl could no longer be stopped. Welcome back, said the king, meeting the boys after the battle. Good job, he added with a smile. Your Majesty, Harut began to speak, but the king immediately interrupted him, starting to praise him. I need to tell you something important, Harut said. Judging by his mood, he hadn't completely calmed down from the battle yet, the black-haired man noted. Okay, let's talk inside. The head of the second also brought some news with him, the king suggested. Judging by the expression on your face, you don't like him very much, the king noted. But there's nothing to be done. He's too busy sorting through information right now, so he won't be able to leave the office for a while. Change your clothes and come to me, the head of the castle commanded. When this was finished, the king threw a stack of papers on the table. First, look at this. There is something charming here, the black-haired man said. After this, Arut began to carefully study the documents he received. What he saw there amazed him. When he got to the most interesting part, the king distracted him. Stop, where am I? How did I end up here? The young man didn't understand. Ririnel appeared nearby. She was glad that the young man was okay. The blonde didn't understand what she meant. After all, he just wanted to get drunk before he died. While the girl continued to talk about how much she missed him, the young man worried that his tolerance for alcohol had worsened. Then it dawned on him that if the pendant was broken, it meant he could die. But you were able to push back the new hero and even manage to protect the demon's kingdom. the girl continued. I must have gotten drunk again and made a mess, the young man thought. Then he noticed what was in his hand. The hero's face was depicted there. The warrior in armor was called Cruel Heart. I will never forget this name in a million years, thought the young man. The man he knew best was his brother. Dion, Hart called as he entered the room. At this time, the blonde was crying over someone's corpse, but still raised his head. He wanted his brother to help him. But instead, the elder raised his sword up, and he did something that Dion didn't like. So now he's a hero, thought Arut. Then, stroking Ririnel on the head, he apologized to her, saying that he had some serious business to attend to. Her protege approached her, and together they began to wonder what had happened to the commander of the Zero detachment. Then the girl's face changed and she called her Harut hot. I need to get out of this job as soon as possible, thought the assistant. The young man meanwhile scolded the emperor for knowing the truth and still making Cruel a hero. Right at the moment when he needed to come back, he remembered how the king invited him to visit the empire. The young man agreed it was time to find out more information about the hero. Okay, go. They'll start to suspect something if you're gone for so long, the king said as he left. Then, creating magic in his hand, he touched the young man. Created a seal, tracking magic, a kind of insurance. And of course, let me know if you find anything useful, Demon Kingdom squad leader, the king blurted out. And a hero of the empire too, he added. Then, sitting in the room, the young man wondered why he had to act like a spy for the Demon King. He was sure that he lost his memories every time he was stressed, so he needed to somehow make himself less nervous. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. It was Ed. He announced that Arut was leaving for the human world that day. Yes, it's time to go back and find out something personal, the young man said. Frankly, His Majesty, Ed began. Here he remembered the dialogue with the king, who offered Aruta's advisor a promotion and the position of commander. Is this because the position of commander of the 9th detachment is currently vacant? The advisor asked, and the answer was affirmative. Considering your skills, you are more than worthy, the king said. Ed thought for a moment. While serving Sir Arut, he completely forgot about his dream of becoming a commander. He asked who would become the advisor to the head of Squad Zero, and was told that a candidate would be found whose abilities were the same as Ed's. I will give you time to think, but if you refuse, this offer will go to another bastard. Will you be happy with someone weaker than you becoming your boss? The king asked him. And yet, blurted out advisor Aruta. Here the blonde asks the young man if the Demon King told him something important. Ah, he responded, surprised, as if he had stopped being in the clouds. I'm sure it would be better if I didn't say anything, Ed thought. Looking at the advisor's face, the young man thought that the advisor wanted to tell him something important, but he was not going to give it to him. Sir Arut, your carriage is ready, the coachman announced. Take care of yourself until I get back, the blonde blurted out before driving off. Could he really just demote him from his position as deputy, because it was difficult for him to serve me? The young man thought. Suddenly the blonde stopped. He asked his comrade if there was anything he wanted. Since Arut was heading to the Empire, he could deliver to the advisor something that was only there. You seem to like snacks. I'll look for some with a longer shelf life, the young man said. The advisor became embarrassed. He realized that few people were willing to do anything for their subordinates. Ed reminded the boy that he should wear Ben's pendant. I'll be waiting for you, Sir Arut, the advisor said as he said goodbye. I don't want to become a squad leader, he answered the king. I like being under Arut's command. Moreover, I want to help him in everything, Ed added. Therefore, wherever the commander of the Zero detachment goes, the deputy will always be waiting for him. 2 security guards were doing their job. While one of them was complaining, the other noticed someone. Sir Arut just came out of the forest. Stop! This is Count Hart's estate, one of them shouted. He is not there at the moment. Entry is prohibited to outsiders. Open the gate, Arut said discontentedly. What kind of behavior is this? He's not afraid to make Count Hart his enemy. One of the guards was indignant. I'm trying to enter my own house, Dion said, removing his hood. The Count has returned. Everyone hurry. People were shouting already inside the estate. The door closed behind the young man inside. Welcome back, my lord, one of the servants blurted out as the others bowed their heads. I told them they shouldn't greet me like that, the blonde thought. You're finally back, said the old man. He was butler of the county of Hart, remember. After their dialogue, it turned out that Dion had not been home for about 6 months. The public believed that Hart had gone on an expedition to destroy monsters on the orders of the Emperor. I completed the task and returned, the guy reported. The butler immediately touched the boy's face with his hand, informing him that he was wounded. It's okay, I'm not a child anymore, Dion answered him. That's right, you're an honorary earl now, added the butler. Hart told his assistant that he needed to meet with the Emperor. He then added that he wanted to leave right now. However, he was sure that the Emperor already knew about the youth's return. Approaching the painting, the young man began to carefully examine everything that was not hidden by the fabric that was thrown over the canvas. I need to ask him about Cruel, Hart thought, looking at his mother and his little self. The butler watched the boy and understood his feelings. Very well, my lord, he said, bowing. Is Dion Hart back? The effeminate man asked. The Emperor's dog decided to see his master, Duke Illustra Strabe reasoned. So what should we do now? He asked the hero. I'll make a request to the Assassin's Guild, Cruel stated. God, what happens if you get caught by the tail? He asked. We still have a card up our sleeve, don't we, Shaylin? The man asked himself. You have a revolutionary army, the advisor decided to clarify. That's right. If this group of people intervenes, then it won't matter whether they get caught or not. The man didn't think Sir Cruel would miss something so obvious. I apologize. I will contact the revolutionary army, the hero declared. Honorable Earl Dion Hart, it's ready, the servant girl cried. It suits you so well, my lord, the girls admired. It was pure chaos, baths, changing clothes, and finally it came to an end. His outfit looks amazing, the maid thought. Wouldn't he look stunning in uniform, she wondered. Come on, strictness is in fashion now. All the outfits were white, so the young man didn't understand what they were discussing at all. Thank you, Hart said, taking the face mask. Now it was the young man's turn to bow to the old man for taking care of the estate. It is an honor for me to receive your recognition, the butler said. Suddenly the old man announced that he would like to talk about resignation. Where can Dion now look for another such talent? As it turned out, the butler decided to play a joke. My only joy is to see your confused face, the old man said, asking you not to be angry with him. Anyway, the carriage is ready, so you can go, he added. I don't need that much security, Arut said. Just a few escorts would be enough, he added. Few in the Empire know that he has returned, so it won't take long. What a disappointment. In both worlds I had to suck up to someone, sometimes the Emperor, sometimes the Demon King. But the first one is as fearless as the black-haired head of the castle. Eduardo Désert took the throne, having got rid of competitors, the 9th prince. He killed all his brothers and sisters and crowned himself in clothes soaked in blood. Even 10 years later, this topic is still being discussed. I got my title by shedding a lot of blood, so I would like to change the old name of the kingdom. From now on, it is an empire. He gave the country its name with such a ridiculous decree that other countries could not remain on the sidelines. And so began the 8-Year War. Thanks to the achievements that were obtained there, the young man received the title of Count. Suddenly, while he was deep in thought, the cart shook violently. What was that? The young man wondered. When he went outside, he saw a fight. Blue armbands with a white bird, revolutionary army. Things are bad for them. They need to join the battle, the young man thought. Suddenly something caught his attention. An unknown man removed the mask from Hart's face, trying to push away his strong hand. He wondered what the hell was going on here. I've found you, dog of the Empire, the attacker blurted out. This organization was formed during a deadly war. In the process of taking over other countries, they lost their citizens and important people in their lives. So what can you expect from those who have nothing to lose? Damn Emperor, he created these reckless bastards, the young man thought. I don't care what they believe in, but I don't want to be their victim, he continued to think. Then the young man blurted out that he was not a dog of the Empire. Then the madman threw the young man to the ground. Excuse me, what is your name? He began. Dion Hart. After these words, the man began to scold the young man again. While the man was describing the boy's appearance, he did not understand where his daggers had gone. Here they are. All that remains is to use them at the right moment, he thought. It worked, thought Blonde Hart. No, the madman managed to block the blow. Stop fooling around, he shouted, shoving the boy into the ground. Ah, I can't breathe, thought the young man. And this man is a hero. Could the rumors really be lying? Thought the effeminate man. Blame the Emperor, false hero, cried the madman. His palm squeezed Hart's neck even tighter. Stop, you son of a bitch, shouted the one who threw the spear at the man. But he was able to parry this blow without any problems, at the cost of dropping his axe. What the hell? He shouted, turning around. Yes, blurted out the guy with a scar by his mouth. Right on target, he added. Wait a minute. A cut in the Emperor's emblem, thought the madman. The murderous Phantom Knights, devils born in the 8-Horse War, led by Dion Hart. How did they find us? Don't let them pass, the madman shouted. I don't think we can just let them go and give them a showdown, thought one of the knights. What's terrifying about them is not their abilities, and the fact is that there is no rationality left in them at all. They are pure brute force. They understood. Yes, there is no easy death for them, shouted one of the warriors of the Ghost Knights. Who cares? Just enjoy, shouted another. They are just as crazy as their commander. If we face them head on, we will lose. We need to finish them off and run away, thought the man who attacked Dion. Suddenly his face changed dramatically. The blonde began to pick at the Revolutionary Army soldier's wound with all his might. He couldn't think of anything better to do than throw Hart into the cart. During this time, Dion managed to pierce the poor guy's hand. My hand, he screamed, you fucking psycho! I'm sorry, I wanted to tear it off, but I was too weak, Dion said. Since I'm not feeling well, let me deal with you quickly, he added. Then the soldier of the Revolutionary Army, out of desperation, began to scold the guy. A moment later, Dion got rid of him. One of Hart's servants watched this action. Captain, he shouted, looking at the blonde's bloody face. He's already dead, the young man thought. There was no reason to continue. Or maybe that's not enough, he thought. No, I need to set an example so that no one else will dare to attack us, he continued to reason. taking the poor fellow by the chest and arming himself with a blade. The blonde began to mock the warrior's body, piercing him with a knife. He did this to make sure once and for all that no one will be able to forget this scene. "Yes, our captain is truly ruthless," one of the Ghost Knight warriors told his comrade. Then they began to argue about whether their help was useful to Dion or not. Suddenly the blonde turned his gaze in their direction. "What are you doing?" he asked them. "Because the enemies are still there, so kill these poor fellows." One of the revolutionaries, realizing what awaited him, changed his expression. After some time, the carriage reached its destination. "Why is she so dirty?" asked one of the guards. "Wait, no, that's not dirt at all, that's blood. This is the Emperor's palace. You cannot enter here without an invitation," the guard declared. "I am Dion Hart, and I must see His Majesty immediately." His Majesty once gave Daeon the opportunity to visit him at any time. When asked where he was, the guard replied that he was in the banquet hall. After all, a banquet is currently taking place to celebrate the debut of a new hero. "What?" the young man asked the guards in surprise. "I guess my older brother is here too," he thought. "So you have returned the lands that the demons took," the Emperor began. "This is simply incredible, Cruel Heart." "I was only doing my duty," the hero declared. "Today we celebrate the birth of a new hero, Cruel Heart, and congratulate him on his debut," said Desert. Then he started to say something, but he was interrupted by the door being kicked down. Dion entered the hall. People were shocked by the fact that the young man was covered in blood. "Wait, it's not hard to see. He has red eyes and white hair," people gossiped. "What is this?" the girls exclaimed in surprise. "The honorary Earl Dion Hart." Then the young man walked past Cruel, and I realized that he had somehow obtained a fragment of the hero. "The radiance of the Empire," said Dion, kneeling before the Emperor. "Your servant, Dion Hart, greets you," the young man stated. People looked at him with disdain, thinking that he was a vampire. "Daeon, you came back alive, what incredible tenacity," thought Duke Illustre. When the young man climbed the stairs to dessert, there were huge traces of blood behind him. "It's been a long time since we met, honorary count. I told you that you could come to me whenever you wanted," the Emperor said. "But to come here covered in blood and disrupt the banquet is disrespectful." "I'm sorry, but there was an ambush on the way," said the young man. "Ambush?" Dessert asked in surprise. "Who dared to attack the hero of the Empire?" The blonde was silent, his gaze was frightening. "Apparently you have something to tell me. Why don't we choose a more secluded place for this?" the Emperor clarified. After some time, when they were alone, the leader suggested that it was the hands of the Revolutionary Army. "If you feel unwell, I can call a doctor," he said. The hero of the Empire, Dion Hart. Everyone looks at him with negativity. "What fools! Who else could become like this blonde?" thought Dessert. In the vanguard, during the war, he performed the most insane feat. And when he left as the hero's partner, he was able to take his corpse, something no one else had been able to do before. A defeated hero is usually left to be torn apart by demons, but this did not happen, but it came at a price. "Have you figured out how to remove the curse?" the leader asked him. "Ah, it must be about the seal of the Demon King," the young man thought. "No, not yet," he said. "This is not a curse, but a tracking mark. The Emperor thinks that I have become weaker because of it," the young man thought. "He still has a careless attitude towards his health. I sent him there only because the king of the castle could lift the curse," Dessert reasoned in his head. The blonde understood that he was being used as a spy, but the Emperor would not say so directly. "What's new there now?" asked Dessert. "Nothing new, but," the young man answered. "I met the killer you sent for my soul," he said, "even though the guy was a pawn." "Why did you do this?" the young man asked him. "This is trash that discredits the title of a hero. I thought he would die before he even got there." "Thanks to him, your status in the castle has been strengthened, right?" asked the Emperor. "Commander of the Zero Squad, does he really know about this?" "I'm sorry, but I couldn't refuse such an offer." The young man began to justify himself. "It's okay. I didn't mention this to accuse you. If you were accepted there, then you are truly talented," said Dessert. "Now, is there something you really want to ask?" he asked. "Cruel Heart, why did you make him a hero?" the blonde asked. "He is the only one who survived from my family," the young man added. "No, that's not it. The only one who survived me, Dion Hart," the young man blurted out. Here he remembered a moment from his childhood. The older brother came up to him and said that his mother and father were already tired of waiting. "Brother," Dion said in surprise. "Sorry, I completely forgot that it was already lunchtime," he said. "And what if you get punished because of me?" the boy asked. Suddenly the older brother let go of the younger brother's hand, and he said I was dirty only because I came back from training. Young Dion looked at his brother in surprise. "Sorry, but I don't mind at all, even if your hands are dirty," the young man said. The elder one walked too fast. Dion couldn't keep up with him. When he stopped abruptly, the blonde crashed into him. "You must really like the family portrait to look at it all day long," Cruel said. "Yeah, when I look at him, it's like he's saying, 'We're family,'" the blonde said. "But it's just a drawing," the elder said. "So don't wander around and stay in your room," he added. "But brother, I always felt alone," Dion thought. He remembered how the maids were afraid of him and always avoided him. They always thought that the boy was adopted, not from the Hart family. But whenever I looked at the family portrait, he thought, he began to feel like part of the family, and wished he too had been born with black hair and green eyes. Dion Cruel, you're late, said the father. Didn't I tell you to hurry? Asked the father. Because today they need to attend the emperor's banquet. Dion, are you feeling unwell again? The woman asked. She insisted that the boy stay at home, but he, on the contrary, wanted to go. Calm down, dear, said the father. Dion can't stay at home forever. We have never shown young Hart's face to the emperor, so it's time. This can't go on any longer. You understand, Dion? He turned to his youngest son. When the boy is away from home, no one should know about his shortcomings. Yes, I'll keep that in mind, the blonde said. Father, I heard you hired a new sword master, the elder blurted out. He changed the subject for me, Dion asked. Yes, because your skills are improving, the father stated. The atmosphere in the dining room changed as soon as my brother spoke. Loneliness and thoughts about it ate away at the guy. If he tries, he will become like his brother, and then his family will love him. Suddenly, someone in the corridor called out to the guy. Are you Dion Hart? One of them asked. The blonde looked at the trio in surprise. Then one of the gang repeated his question. The boy was glad that at last someone spoke to him. A short dialogue ensued between them about why Dion was there, to which one of the guys asked Hart if he really didn't understand anything. Ah, the blonde asked them in surprise. Everyone knew he was the black sheep of the Hart family. Is it true that your family locked you up? Asked the impudent boy, and the boy began to deny it. You're lying, shouted the first one, stepping forward. Even if they are your family, they will not be able to love you, one of the three continued. The Hart family abandoned you, he added. You're a monster. After these words, the blonde attacked the impudent man. Stop it, stop talking this nonsense if you don't know anything about me, the boy yelled. How dare you, shouted the instigator, hitting Hart back. He started shouting that the blonde was a monster and a mistake of nature, a creature abandoned by its own family. Hey, stop it, the insolent fellow tried to separate them. My family was spinning in his head. Dion, his brother shouted as he ran up to him. What the hell is going on here, he added. As he got closer, he was able to fully see what was happening. Suddenly, the boy felt really bad and started crying. How is he? A member of the Hart family asked the doctor. The second young gentleman has a very weak body, must avoid the sun, and is also extremely susceptible to stress, he added. The father couldn't understand how this could happen, because there had never been weak children in their family. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, said the boy who had come to his senses. I will try harder, he added. Please don't hate me. Dion, the brother said, taking the younger one by the hand. Don't worry, everything will be fine. You see, my family loves me, thought the blonde. Nobody expects anything from you anyway. That thought crept into his head. Monster, you're a monster, he continued to wind himself up. The door to the room suddenly opened. What happened? How could you get involved in a fight in the palace? His father asked. But Dad, they were the first to start making excuses. The guy started making excuses. He began to remember these events. You are a creature abandoned by your own family. This phrase stuck in his head. Dad won't listen to me anyway. But what if he thinks the same way as these children? He reasoned. I think it's too early for you to go out into the world. You'll be spending some time without leaving the house, the head of the family said. Think about your behavior, he added. The blonde was sure that everyone was disappointed in him. He couldn't get into trouble anymore. He needed to try harder. I feel so sorry for him. It's sad to look at him now, the servants gossiped. Meanwhile, Dion was sitting at the table and writing something. The laughter of the Hart family, the boy thought as he opened the curtain. There he saw a real family. His face changed completely. No, it was impossible to be envious, the blonde thought. If he tries, he will definitely be recognized. So today he will train 30 minutes longer. Meanwhile, evening had already arrived. It was so hard. He felt like he was going to die, but he couldn't stop. Dion, stop it! Shouted the brother, intercepting the wooden sword. Brother, the blonde said in surprise. What the hell are you doing? He asked, to which he received the answer that the boy was training to become stronger. I told you not to do anything and sit quietly in the room, the elder snapped. You don't have to do anything, he added. Shouldn't I even try, the blonde thought. Okay, he answered the elder. I won't do anything, the boy added. Sorry, brother, but I need to rest. Do you mind if I go? He asked. Then what should he do to become loved in the family? Someone knocked on the door. Young master, will you eat in your room as usual today? The butler asked him. And the rest, blurted out Dion, who was already 14 years old. Cruel appeared at the door. He was 3 years older than the younger one, and announced that the parents had gone on an important matter. The elder invited the blonde to play chess. Hearing the polite speech, Cruel asked if he had distracted Dion from important matters. What business can I have in my room without a single guest? He was indignant. In general, I'm not busy, he said in a normal tone. Since the country is in chaos, our parents are often busy, the older brother said. Dion had heard this before, but he thought they simply didn't want to see him. Even though it was a lie, there were reasons why I wanted to believe it. Sometimes, when he should have already been sleeping, his mother visited him at night, but he vowed not to expect love from his family. Unconsciously, he put meaning into her trivial actions, And I won't be able to visit you for a while either, Cruel continued. Ah, well, here I am again, burned by a senseless hope. Suddenly someone entered the room. Who are you and how dare you? The elder began to be indignant. I am here to deliver a message from the Empire, the messenger said. Which one of you is Dion Hart? He asked. The Hart family servant quickly pointed it out. The blonde was seriously scared. Please come with us, the man in white commanded. We'll explain all the details along the way, he added, casually grabbing the boy by the clothes. They want to get rid of him on the battlefield, one of the guards suggested. Please wait. There's some kind of mistake, the older brother blurted out. The Hart family filled out the official document of the imperial family. We are only carrying out the prescribed. Talk to your parents, the man in white said. Dion didn't understand what all this meant. His parents decided to send the boy to war, but he is weak and unlikely to survive there. Brother, it's me, he shouted, turning around. But the door was closed. No one followed him. They all want me dead, he thought. I wonder if it's all because I'm a mistake that brings shame on the Hart family, he continued to reason. The boy was given a sword and told that he would soon be sent to the front lines. Heavy, thought the young man. Some people didn't understand what this guy was doing here, since the children of the nobility were sent elsewhere. It appears that the rumors about his relationship with his family were true. It is obvious that he holds the sword with difficulty. Most likely he will die soon. From that day on, his life became a hell of a different order. All these endless battles and cries of comrades, their deaths, the nauseating smell of blood. No, he didn't want to die like this here at all. Lying on the ground, he looked up. There the young man saw a warrior who helped him by killing the enemy. Pull yourself together, he shouted. If you can't hold a sword, then take another weapon. And if there is nothing at all, then kill with your bare hands. While you are here, young and weak, you must fight for survival. True, I couldn't die like this, he thought. He vowed to survive no matter what. Will kill, and kill again. At some point he felt that his body was failing him again. He found himself thinking that he wanted to go home. Then he killed the enemy who was next to him. Was it even his house? After all, he couldn't call those mansions his favorite place. Soldiers, come out and take the gifts sent, the commander shouted. It was the first time Dion had heard of such an event, and didn't think they could send him anything. Someone was sent home-cooked food. Someone received a letter from a daughter who had just learned to write. Was there still hope in Dion? Of course, there was no gift in his name. But there was something else. A letter saying that he was wanted here as a commander of a frontline detachment. Then he decided that it was the Hart family who sent him here. We'll feel the same fate. When he returned home, he was with a body and covered in blood. Finally, I will accomplish what I planned, he thought. The young man pointed his dagger forward and blurted out, I have come to greet you. Dion, his father said slowly. But the young man instantly plunged the blade into his chest. He, not expecting this at all, coughed up blood. A dream he had wanted to fulfill for many years. Farewell, said the blonde, making another swing of the blade. He finally did it. Look at yourself. You shouldn't have done this to me, said the distraught young man. The door to the hall opened, and the elder stood on the threshold. Brother, Dion said with tears in his eyes. What have you done? Cruel asked him. Please help me, the blonde asked. Help? Will Cruel help you? The voices in his head brightened up. The brother's face changed. His gaze became hateful. Dion attacked his brother, who was able to defend himself. You were just watching from the sidelines, the boy shouted. Help me, just die, the voices said. No, I'm about to die in agony, they continued. Then he looked at his bloody hand. Damn, I've reached my limit, he thought. He couldn't have lost consciousness here, since he still hadn't gotten rid of Cruel. Count, they called out to the young man. What are you thinking about? You weren't even listening to me, said the commander of the High Knights, Leon Rayner. She was the only normal person among the crazy knights. Wait, this is the Imperial Banquet Hall. The last thing he remembered was being ambushed. The guy didn't understand when he had already managed to meet the Emperor, and how he had defeated the Revolutionary Army. When asked about the reason for the banquet, the girl asked him if he was joking. The banquet was dedicated to the new hero. The feast was dedicated to Sir Cruel. There you are, Dion, said the older brother, seeing the blonde. Damn, I knew it wasn't just a nightmare he had. Long time no see, brother, said the young man. Unlike me, he has green eyes and dark hair, he thought. The man he didn't want to meet again. On my last expedition, I encountered the commander of Squad Zero, Cruel reported. He seemed to realize it was me, the young man thought. Seeing how he easily raised the army's morale, I remembered you, the green-eyed man said. Their spirit was high. These words struck the guy. I heard you're good at commanding too. If only you were on our side, added the older brother. After this, the blonde laughed hysterically. I have no reason to fight on the same side as you, so don't come up with unrealistic scenarios, the guy told his brother. These eyes are still the same as they were then, full of indifference and showing no interest. Bloody bastard, thought the youngest Hart. I'd rather eat some pudding than chat with him, he thought. Stupid banquet. I'll kill some time before I go back. The elder continued his dialogue with the younger, but the latter ignored him. I started asking how the monster-killing mission went. Why are you so annoying, Dion asked. Even if he had suffered, he certainly wouldn't have told you about it, he added. so keep watching from the sidelines, as you always have. Like when you just watched, Dion continued. When the young man was taken away to fight. Damn, why am I wasting so much air on him? The guy didn't understand. There was no point in coming here. The blonde guy only ruined his mood. What a touching relationship between brothers, Illustrator noted. He led the opposition against the Emperor. The Duke said he was pleased to meet the blonde man. The young man looked with hatred at the hand extended to him. Then he turned away abruptly. How dare he ignore the Duke? The girls immediately began to condemn him for this. The elder brother was also amazed by the younger one's actions. Since he had pudding in his mouth, he couldn't say anything. It seemed that the Duke was about to boil with anger. Long time no see, Illustrator, Dessert said. You haven't been here for a long time. You were probably busy, continued Elpidius, the crown prince of the empire. The Duke hastened to apologize to him. Dessert didn't understand why this bastard was hanging around Count Hart, but he had no intention of sitting idle. He needed to protect the blonde at any cost. Suddenly a girl appeared and hugged the Count so tightly that the pudding flew out of his mouth. It was the princess of the empire, Alethea Desert. I missed you so much, added the maiden. Alethea, her brother called out. He noticed that Count Dion was feeling ill and called a doctor here. In fact, it wasn't what everyone thought. Pudding that flew out of the boy's mouth when he was hugged. No need for a doctor, the blonde screamed. While everyone thought he was really sick, Dion tried to convince them it was pudding. What kind of a farce is this? Asked the man who appeared. It was the Emperor together with General Nemesius, the first hero of the Empire. Your Majesty, it is my fault, the maiden began to justify herself. It is my fault that the Count started bleeding. Stop it. Dion is a hero. He couldn't have gotten a nosebleed because he was hugged, Dessert said. Most likely it is an internal injury due to fatigue, since he was attacked on the way. Damn, I need to explain before the misunderstanding goes that far, the blonde thought. Since things have gone this way, I'll pretend that I'm not feeling well and go home. I've achieved my goals and can leave the palace, Dion thought. Your Majesty, it seems it is time for me to leave. I'm sorry I can't stay until the end, he added. After these words, he felt really bad. Suddenly someone held the sick young man. He looked at the one who decided to help. Dion thanked him, his brother Cruel. After this, the blonde decided that he could handle it himself and slipped out from under his hand. I don't need your help, the Count declared. He didn't understand why his older brother was acting like this. During the 8 Years' War, Cruel was the object of his boundless hatred. Count Dion Hart, addressed the young man Desert. It's obvious you're not feeling well. Go home. He's throwing me out, which under normal circumstances would be an insult. But for me it's tact, Dion thought. He didn't think he could hold out a little longer. The Duke meanwhile looked at his elder brother. Something was clearly bothering him greatly. The Duke smiled slyly, a plan appearing in his head. The Emperor was certainly tolerant of Hart. But how dare he show such an attitude towards an honored guest at a banquet organized by the imperial family? The Duke was indignant. Sir Cruel, you are too merciful to your brother, he added. I was just trying not to spoil the atmosphere, the hero blurted out. Don't worry, I understood everything correctly, because I know why you were looking for me in the first place, the Duke said. Earlier, Cruel came to him and asked him to become his sponsor, an unfortunate man who lost his family at the hands of his younger brother. He had many options, but he came to me, the man thought. At that time, he couldn't understand whether Cruel was smart or, on the contrary, stupid. I've always wondered what you wanted to protect. Today I understood, he added. To protect himself from Dion Hart, the Duke suggested. This is what Cruel really wanted. In this case, their paths converge. The Emperor's faithful dog, Dion Hart, must die. But, frankly speaking, that is not the main reason, the Duke thought. His heart told him something. Dion is the main danger to the Empire. I will kill you no matter what it takes, he thought. The Count returned to his estate not alone, but with a girl who helped him return from the banquet. Upon arrival, they smelled something burning. It was all good when I left, the young man thought. High Knights, what were they doing there? It seems to me that this is happening. The Count did not understand. Yes, it is just an illusion due to a lot of stress. No, the heat on my skin is definitely not an illusion, he thought. Then Daeon called out to the people standing near the burning house. The young man asked them since when his house had become a zoo for rabid dogs. Then he turned his gaze to his hand. Count, the girl called out to him. The young man didn't understand how the bomb ended up in his hand. Without wasting a second, he hurried to throw it as far as possible. But he didn't have enough strength for this. She dashed off a couple of meters from Dion. What the hell? What did these mad mongrels forget about me? He was indignant. People ran closer to him, calling him now Count, now Captain. Hart Jr. turned his attention to them. A real hero. He threw back when I threw the bomb as a surprise attack, the wounded warrior reported. Is there anyone left alive? Asked the Count's subordinate. To which Dion decided to ask them who was standing there, who was barely visible through the smoke. This symbol, the Revolutionary Army, it has even reached here. The bastard revolutionaries threw a bomb at your house, and we quickly dealt with them. His man hastened to please the Count. And why were they at my house? The young man asked. He was sure that the High Knights had joined the official ones. Did they throw you out because you were causing trouble? Dion asked them. They may have delivered, But they didn't kick us out, the warrior hastened to reassure him. After this, the leader of the warriors in white robes began to scold them. Looking at this, the Count talked about the revolutionary army, as if the attack in the carriage wasn't enough for him. They also ambushed the High Knights known as his personal ones. Apparently they were desperate to get rid of Hart. "Damn, I've been spotted," blurted out the young man Dion had spotted. "I have to catch him alive to get the information," the guy thought. Without a second's hesitation, someone caught up with them. He knocked one to the ground and immobilized the other. It was Old Man Remember. "We almost missed him," he said with a smile. "I didn't expect you to be able to throw their bomb back to them," said the butler. "Something happened at the Imperial Palace," he asked. "Half a day has passed and you look tired," the old man added. Then the maiden who had arrived with Hart told the butler everything that had happened to the young man during this time. "I'll take care of the rest," the old man said with a smile. "Dion Hart," hissed the one who wanted to save his wounded comrade. "There are 3 people standing on the way to the Emperor. Supreme Commander of the 8 Years' War and personal guard of Nemesius. The man who keeps the population calm with his policies and financial management is Chancellor Ardle. And finally the Empire's faithful dog, Dion Hart. For the revolution to succeed, he had to be eliminated. Despite my failure, my comrades will finish you off," he shouted. These words affected his subordinate more than Dayon. He clenched his fist tightly. "Stop bothering the gentleman when he is already tired," he added. Then, taking the sword, he swung it and said, "Die." The butler stood nearby and watched this. "Now there will be even more to clean up," thought the old man. "Let's report to the Count that the dog mauled the poor fellow to death," he thought. Events moved to a decaying territory. "I want to eat," thought the girl, covering her face with her hands. She remembered how she got caught during the previous theft. "From that day on, I couldn't eat even a crumb. People died here all the time, so her death wouldn't be a surprise." A young boy named Paul appeared and handed his friend a piece of bread. He added that he received it at the Church of the Atonement. They are currently distributing bread and water to slum residents. The girl thought that since it was free, there was something wrong with him. The boy was infuriated that his girlfriend also refused to eat what he brought her. She decided to check if she had to pay anything to get inside. Did they really give people food and water for free? "Believe it or not, I'm going there," the young man declared. "You can throw away this loaf," he added. The girl felt guilty after this. "Paul, what difference does it make whether they poisoned the food or not?" she shouted. "It doesn't matter whether the maiden dies of hunger or poison. If they really provide food, it doesn't matter whether they bring salvation or damnation." Meanwhile, Dion reasoned that part of the house had been saved, and the mad dogs had received their own residence from the young man. He had to take care of the things he had always put off, deal with the overdue work. He didn't want to build a dam. But as soon as the old man entered the room, the young man immediately changed his shoes. After that incident, it was impossible to behave irresponsibly towards Remember. Suddenly, the young man's ear heard something interesting from the street. A small argument broke out between several people. He understood that similar clashes could occur between the knights who were united. "Don't they have anything better to do?" he asked the butler. "Since you have returned, you must give them instructions," the old man replied. "For now all they can do is train and quarrel with each other." Dion thought how good it was with the Demon King, to which the old man blurted out, "Is that why he is worried about you, my lord?" "Remember, if you're tired, I can give you a vacation," the blonde man said. The old man stated that the emperor would not have returned the troops with the land if he did not believe in the blonde man's loyalty. Dion thought that Desert simply couldn't handle them, because they didn't know how to be docile. In any case, he clarified why so many overdue cases had accumulated. After all, from that day on, he handed over the Hart estate to the emperor. "If Desert is so worried about me, then let him take these lands for himself," Dion declared, which greatly surprised the old man. "You don't seem to know, but His Majesty has transferred ownership back to you," Remember added. Dion heard about it for the first time. The official document was somewhere in a stack of papers. It was necessary to find a way to return the estate to the emperor. "Damn, I let the title of count slip through my fingers for the sake of protecting the borders," the young man thought. But he didn't need the estate, since he didn't like this place. "I won't leave this like this. I need to pay Desert a visit," he said. "My lord, the Crown Prince and General Nemesius are here to see you," a voice announced from behind the door. The blonde didn't understand why they were here. After all, the general didn't like him at all. "Is this a family portrait?" The general asked himself this question, looking at a piece of canvas, half covered with fabric. She was going to take the two of them to the living room. "I apologize for coming without permission, but we need to talk, Count," a member of the Desert family said. He remembered telling his sister that Hart had caught the revolutionary army that had ambushed him. This information saddened the girl. It seemed to her that the Count no longer wanted to see her. Her brother did not consider her actions to be particularly serious. "I am a princess and I haven't seduced anyone, so I might be inexperienced," she added. Her brother was struck by the maiden's love for Dion. "I'm telling you, he felt ill for another reason," the brother claimed. He asked the maiden if she wanted to personally ask for forgiveness, and the answer was affirmative. "No way," replied the brother. Whether she comes herself or calls him to her, it will be a scandal. Alethea, the elder, addressed her, placing a mug of tea on the table. Naive and stupid princess, you don't love Hart. Even so, for the sake of the imperial family, I can also fall in love. If you show him how logically you think, your image will arouse suspicion, the elder added. Everything is fine. We must stay together no matter what, since the nobles are already in full swing discussing who will inherit the throne, the sister said. Everyone is aware of her feelings for Dion, if there is an opportunity to bind such talent to the emperor. But her brother interrupted her, saying that Alethea lacked intuition. I know I've said this before, but you can stop at any time, he added. Thank you, brother, his sister thanked him. By the way, could you find out what Count Hart thinks of me? She blurted out. We will be in a difficult position if the emperor's talent is upset by this incident. So we came for this. But at the same time, we will find out if Hart will work for us, thought the older brother. The young man didn't understand what they were doing here. Coming out to the guests, the blonde man greeted them. I apologize for the sudden visit. Please sit down, said a member of the dessert family. He added that he would like to discuss something, and the general also had several questions. He looked at Hart with contempt. The blonde did the same. The member of the emperor's family began by apologizing for his sister. Ah, so that's what you're talking about, Dion noted. I've already told her off, so don't worry, the guest said. He would also like to ask for a favor. Dion was alarmed by this. What kind of service was this that the crown prince came in person? Could we become friends? Asked the guest. Excuse me, the younger Hart asked him. I want to become closer to you, but since you are always busy, we cannot see each other all the time, the crown prince said. My title is too heavy for me to make a friendly visit to someone I want to build a relationship with, a member of the dessert family said. Is this proposal too awkward for you? He asked Dion. How dare I be? Hart began. Then he caught the contemptuous look again. I would be honored to become your friend, the blonde man declared. So from now on we are friends. I will do everything possible to make us closer, said a member of the dessert family. Dion knew he had no choice. It's obviously a lot of pressure for him, but he has a good heart, the crown prince thought. Then come to me when you're with the emperor. We'll spar, drink tea and talk about life, he added. Dion was going to see his friend off, but he still needed to talk to the general. After this, the crown prince left the room, leaving his comrade face to face with the unpleasant person. I look forward to our next meeting, he added. How Hart did not want to talk one-on-one with the general. I didn't know what to tell him at all. The honorary Earl Dion Hart, the general, greeted him. I won't delay because you're busy, he continued. His Majesty wishes Dion to hand over to him a soldier of the Revolutionary Army. The goal is to identify the individual and calculate their base. Since the young man caught this soldier, he has the right to refuse. Of course I will, Hart replied. It was he, the young man said, as soon as the prisoner was pulled out of the dungeon. I tied him up so you can take him, the blonde man said. Then, on leaving such an unpleasant room, the general looked at the guy. 3 set up an ambush, 2 are dead. But according to reports, only 1 died from the explosion. The cause of death of the second was not explained. What do you mean by that? Dion asked. Having received no answer, he was asked a serious question about how the man died. The general did not despise people without reason. But observing Hart during the 8-year war, he discovered the truth about his change of personality. For the first time, a nobleman was called up to the position of a private soldier. Since a young man was sent to his unit, he used him. The child was too weak to survive in a war zone, so he chose cruelty to avoid death, killing everyone in his path, which drove him crazy. You've been stuck here for 3 days already. It's time to come to your senses, the general said. No one will judge the guy for his way of surviving, but he will have to accept the blame for his actions. The child was tormented by feelings of guilt after each battle. On the 3rd day, he decided to split his personality. Since he couldn't switch as needed, it would be more accurate to call it nature. The madman's nature was activated during bloody and brutal battles, driven by the instinct of survival, while the normal one participated in the battles and remembered only them. It seemed to the young man that he had not killed anyone, and that he had miraculously survived the last battle. He wondered how much longer the blonde would deceive himself, turning a blind eye to his own actions. The general considered his former soldier negative because he had abandoned his humanity. If Dion decides not to ignore this matter like he did in the past, Hart replied that he was not at the scene of the incident, so he could not say for sure. Based on the reports, he was torn apart by wild dogs. Okay, in that case I'll go, the general said. Since Hart was busy, he didn't have to see her off. As expected, nothing has changed. What nonsense is it that there is a pack of wild dogs here? The weakness of someone who bears a huge responsibility on his shoulders can lead to disaster. This is why Dion Hart is a dangerous element. It was necessary to keep it with you. The young man returned to his business dissatisfied. He slept a little, but was woken up by an old man. The butler waited for his boss to wake up. He even called a doctor because he thought Hart had lost consciousness. The doctor said that fatigue and stress could be the cause of a weak body. The old man had a proposal for the young man to go on an expedition to destroy monsters, because the knights also needed to dump their energy somewhere. Organize this as soon as possible, Hart commanded. Count, we're almost at the border, shouted the girl who helped him get home after the banquet. He didn't understand why they dragged him along. Then the young man decided to ask out of curiosity, how did he get here? To which his warrior replied, how could the Count miss such a fun activity? The young man wanted to refuse them, but he remembered how one of his men begged on his knees for Dion to go with them. Taming monsters on the borders of the Empire, how can this be perceived as something fun at all? The old man also did not mind the young man going with his people. He was ready to take on his work. Then even more knights began to ask Hart to go with them. Remember added that the bastard who is in the county will make the first move. He also said that during the blonde's absence he would try to catch a rat. Remembering the butler's words, the young man realized that he could not refuse. If we don't catch him, I might die, he thought. One of his men approached the blonde and began to inquire what the Count had done on his last campaign, when he was destroying monsters. One of the knights suddenly shouted, monsters, everyone get into position. The warriors began to abandon their horses and rush into battle. Looking at these psychos, the Count began to miss the Demon King's castle. Then turning his gaze to Leon, he noticed that the girl was also tired. She was a knight recommended personally by the Emperor, a maiden who sets the standards for knights. Leon asked the young man if he would take part in the battle. No, he replied, let the knights have their fun. What he saw saddened him a little. The warriors began to fight among themselves for the right to kill a certain monster. He was also hurt by one of the knights' comments that they were enjoying their vacation more than Dion. He had a feeling that if he interfered, everything would fall apart. Then something made the blonde turn around. Having done this, he received an arrow in the shoulder. My lord, are you all right? Leon called out questioningly. Someone was ambushing him, but he didn't know who it was, unless they are representatives of another country. Then the assassins, sent by someone who really wants Dion dead. Damn, he dodged. The ranger hiding in the bushes said angrily. Dame Leon, cut this off, the young man commanded, as close as possible so that it can no longer be seen. If I do this, you will suffer greatly after the tip is removed, the maiden said. The arrowhead will penetrate deeper and deeper, because of which the young man will experience severe pain. High Knights, prepare the drug, Hart commanded. The bastard who got injured, isn't he the third hero of the Empire? One of the attackers asked. Judging by the color of his hair and the presence of ghost knights, yes, it is him. One of the killers had a great idea. Only 2 years have passed since the end of the 8 Years' War, and Dion has already been wounded. If his people are accused of attacking the kingdom of those who set up the ambush, the killers can receive substantial reparations from the Empire. The young man hastened to take some pills, a drug that temporarily disables common sense. There is no need to flaunt this use, because they were prohibited. What are you waiting for? Kill them, shouted one of the assassins. Dion was already racing on his horse towards the crowd of those who had set up the ambush. A moment later, he left the saddle, and he froze in the air above the nearest enemy, armed with daggers. The first, the young man thought. Damn, he's fast. That's the thought that occurred to the victim. A second later, the blonde knocked down his opponent, stabbing him in the vulnerable spot with a dagger. Once he caught one alive, he saw no more meaning in the lives of the others. You're a bastard, one of the assassins shouted. But before he could strike Dion, he was struck by the knight's spear. Hart's men finally followed their commander and began to help him on the battlefield. Dame Leon, make sure he doesn't die, he commanded, referring to the first victim. Then he turned his gaze to the battlefield. A thought occurred to one of Dion's men as he swung his sword. If he doesn't finish off the enemy standing in front of him, he will still die from blood loss. While he hesitated, Dion did everything for the knight. If you, mad dogs, have become knights, then why should you show generosity? Hart asked him. These words touched other members of the squad as well. None of you will survive if you are not capable of this, Dion added. Cast aside guilt, leaving only the ability to distinguish friend from foe. Let the madness consume you, all for your survival. Damn, we picked the wrong enemy, the assassin thought. But it was too good an offer to refuse. The events moved to Cruel's office. He told the stranger that he would pay half the reward even for being wounded. The order was to kill Dion. Why would you pay out of your own pocket for some condition? The one who took the order clarified. I will take full responsibility if the Duke finds out. Cruel hastened to console. He must despise Dion the most, but he does strange things from time to time. The battle was brutal, with curses and shouts, full of dirty tricks. The man who was at the epicenter. His eyes shone every time after he tore apart his enemies, resembling a bloodthirsty ghost. And such a man is a hero of the Empire, the wounded soldier asked himself. They shouldn't have interfered in the first place. Someone could even remain sane after meeting them. It's no wonder they're called deadly ghost knights instead of supreme ones. Aren't they closer to demons than to humans? I don't know anymore whether it was money that blinded you or whether you were as dumb as a brick, Dion addressed his enemy. Or maybe all at once, after these words, the dagger pierced the bastard's knee. Dion, with his foot on the murder weapon, listened with pleasure to the screams of the victim. I'm not into torture, so just tell me who it was, Hart began. Oh shit, the wounded assassin screamed. Meanwhile, a complaint was filed against Dion to the Emperor, saying he should have been suppressing the monsters. The kingdom insists that the battle they were drawn into due to an ambush near the castle walls was an attempt at armed invasion. Count Hart was shot in the shoulder and will have difficulty using his arm for a month. And now, apparently, Ilion is demanding material compensation. That's right, the Emperor clarified. They must have had brains. I guess I've been keeping quiet all this time, he thought. He doesn't mean that, the Chancellor wondered. Then I decided to intervene with the words, Your Majesty, we cannot blame this kingdom for organizing the ambush. Prepare for war, Dessert said proudly. The general, hearing this, was taken aback. It's only been 2 years since the last one, so there's been plenty of rest. Don't worry, we will receive money and resources during the capture. Just like back then, during the 8-year war, the Emperor reassured the Chancellor, adding that Dessert is a tyrant. The Chancellor was speechless at this. I was planning to conquer the continent anyway, so this is just in time, the ruler added. The Emperor was obsessed with responsibility due to a sense of guilt. Conquering the continent had been his ultimate goal ever since he took the throne by killing his brothers and sisters. He didn't plan to become irresponsible at this stage. She became a shackle for him that caused the disaster. The Chancellor thought that the guilt of killing family members had pushed the inhabitants of the Empire into the background, which was an incorrect order of hierarchy. Have you heard of the Church of the Atonement? This is the question the general received from Dessert. It was a cult that was gaining momentum in the slums. She has become too powerful. It is better to eliminate this threat before the war starts. Dion Hart will do it because he is the cause of all this unrest. You mean this blonde guy, the general clarified. I object, Your Majesty. This man is dangerous, the warrior declared. You definitely don't like this guy. It's because of his brutal way of neutralizing enemies, Dessert clarified. No, I'm sure it's just a way for him to survive. However, Count Hart has divided himself into 2 personalities, the general said. What he heard amazed the Emperor. This bastard can't even handle his own responsibility. Can you imagine what will happen when he completely loses his mind? The warrior shouted. Once Dion comes to terms with reality, the wall he built will crumble to dust. So what? Dessert answered coldly. The Emperor had been aware of this for a long time. Then why? The general shouted questioningly. This decision will be made by Dion. Even if something happens because of him, it will be his responsibility. The warrior did not understand how Dessert could say something like that. The fact that responsibility for Hart's actions could fall on his shoulders did not greatly worry the Emperor. Enough talk, the ruler blurted out. I know I have chosen the path of a tyrant, but I can become a great ruler for those I value, he added. He also said that he forgives the general's current disrespect. What he heard clearly touched the warrior. I apologize, but, the general said. I understand your concerns, don't worry, Dessert interrupted him. Please let me destroy my family. Dion once came to the ruler with such a proposal. Crystal clear feeling of hatred, rage. You are so valuable that I should let you kill your family, Dessert asked. What do I need to do for this? Asked the young man. Dessert gave the order to face the Demon King as the hero's ally. Having completed the task, the young man was asked whether he felt the same way about his family. The answer was yes, so Hart County would be quieter than usual today. Dion remained silent and did not answer. Then, bowing his head, he thanked her for her time. But was it fate? After all, Cruel Hart returned home late then. Noticed dead people who worked for his family. Dion Hart, he knew it was his brother's doing. Ultimately, Cruel became a trump card against the blonde. For Dion to kill his brother, he needed an emperor. And Cruel serves Duke Illustre to ensure his survival. 2 brothers are holding each other by the throat. The blonde began to open his eyes. He began to be surrounded by the dead, who began to appear from the sea of blood. Dion didn't understand what the hell this was. What did it all mean? Be consumed by madness just a little longer. Don't forget, this is all for survival. These thoughts gave the young man a headache. Then tears started to flow from my eyes. Someone, exactly the same, but in a hood, covered his face with the words, "You don't need to remember, and if you remember, ignore it." It wasn't me who did this, the hooded figure added. Then the young man woke up in a cold sweat. He realized that this was another nightmare. I arrived at the border and an assassin shot me with an arrow while I was fighting monsters, he thought. Hart had no memory of how he got back here. If it weren't for the shoulder wound, he would have thought it was a bad dream. The first thing that interested Dion was where the old man was. At this time, Remember was scolding the spy. "Who are you? You are not an ordinary butler," the poor man screamed. Then someone stabbed him in the neck. I wish I could find out, but he's dead, the old man thought. Then, turning his gaze to the sky, I thought that the one who had just been killed wasn't the only one from whom I could get information. "So remember, Earl Hart has returned," the old man was informed. "Follow that bird and find out who is behind all this," the butler commanded. "Exactly," said the old man. "By the authority of the butler, I cancel your employment contract," he informed the dead man. Then he immediately went to meet the blonde man. They immediately began to inquire about the young man's well-being. Hart claimed to smell blood from Remember. "I just dealt with a spy. There must have been drops of blood on the suit," the old man said. "Something unexpected happened to the spy," Remember said. and then he hurried to find out how everything went with his master. Ah, everyone died there too, so it was not possible to identify the instigator, the blonde man stated. The initiator must be taken seriously. The circle of suspects has been narrowed to the Revolutionary Army, an enemy country, or Duke Illister, and it all comes down to the fact that the latter is the most likely suspect. You can't handle him alone. Why not ask the Emperor for help? The old man asked him. I apologize if I overstepped my bounds, Remember added. Meanwhile, the young man began to think he was already planning to go to the Emperor to give him the estate, so he might as well finish this before other troubles arose. The young man will get his peaceful life as soon as possible. At the palace, he was informed that Dessert would not be able to receive him for now, as he was holding an important meeting with Illustre. There's nothing to be done. I'll have to kill time. Count, cried the Crown Prince's sister. Tom had to apologize for his little sister's behavior. Dion Hart welcomes the future of the Empire, the young man said. Well, do we need these formalities, aren't we friends? The Crown Prince asked him. Friend, as I was walking down the hallway, I heard that you needed to do something while you were waiting for the meeting, he continued. I'm glad we had the opportunity to drink tea in the palace, the Crown Prince said joyfully. It's a great honor for me, the young man said coldly. I assume you enjoy the drink, so I'll ask you to bring some cookies with it, Hart's friend said. Before the blonde could do anything, the piece was forced into his mouth. The Crown Prince's sister fed and watered the young man. The blonde's friend asked him to be more careful the next time he destroyed monsters. The maiden, hearing that the Count was wounded, began to panic. Please be careful. You still have a long time to serve His Majesty, the Crown Prince said. I will tell you only my friend, but I do not want to become the next emperor, the friend said. Damn, why is he telling me this? The young man didn't understand. I will take the throne only if something happens to me, and I hope this never happens, my friend said. As you know, His Majesty is like a brother to us, the prince continued. The blonde was aware of how much these children respected their uncle. The current emperor and the previous 9 princes, if you recall, killed all their brothers and sisters along with their children. It would be difficult to explain the peaceful existence of these two, and it would also be strange that they do not hate their uncle. There is an explanation for this. The first prince, the father of the crown prince and princess. He was kind, unlike most of the imperial family. Until his death, he visited the 9th prince with his children, so they value each other as brothers and sisters. Their relationship is even closer than family. They say that if the first prince had lived, the 9th would not have taken up arms. We are worried about His Majesty, so please take care of him, the crown prince said. Brother, why are you burdening the Count with your speeches? The sister asked. After hearing all this, the young man said that he would go to the restroom. The crown prince saw him off with the words, Go, you've drunk a lot of tea. He ran away. This conversation was too difficult for him. Something lurks beneath the deceptively calm surface of the water. The tip of the sword always pointing towards our uncle, the Emperor, the friend declared. It wasn't that he was giving in to this nonsense, but their pacification over 2 years had turned into the pacification of a hidden threat. They didn't know when the next provocative action would be taken, so they had to prepare a solution in advance. Since Dion is an outstanding person, his participation will help turn the tide in their favor. True sister, said the brother. He hoped that the blonde would become a faithful ally of the Emperor, so loyal that he can kill them without asking any questions. Walking through all these long corridors, the young man didn't understand where the restroom was. Suddenly his attention was drawn to a red-haired guy. Hey there! Dion shouted at him. He didn't understand why the boy was so afraid of him. Do you know where you are? Hart asked him. He failed to try not to appear scary. Suddenly he attacked the Count. What the hell? I just wanted to know where the bathroom was, Dion thought. The guy made a very powerful swing. Unable to stay on his feet, he fell. Damn, they found me, thought the attacker. He finally managed to steal the boring document and was identified. He was caught red-handed by this Dion Hart. He thought that if he attacked first, he would be able to gain time to escape. But then Krul appeared and grabbed the guy by the throat. Another damn Hart, the thief thought. Brother, the blonde said, perplexed. He didn't understand what the hell happened here. What is this green-eyed guy doing here? Then he looked him straight in the eyes, and I saw this cold, contemptuous look. At this time, the thief begged for mercy. The valuable document fell to the floor. Dion reached out his hands to him. Then, looking forward, I saw the Duke in front of me. My God, this seems to be a very important palace document, said the illustrator. When asked what Dion was doing there, he replied that he had come here to return the estate to the Emperor. You managed to catch the spy? Dessert will be pleased with you, said the Duke. Everything was wrong, in the blonde's opinion, but he couldn't explain it. Count! The Crown Prince shouted. He's been gone for a long time and the boys are starting to worry. Dion, you're bleeding, the friend added. Then he hurried to call the doctor. The boys immediately became interested in finding out what happened here. The weapon could have been laced with poison, the Duke suggested. Count, just don't lose consciousness, the girl begged. Your Highness, the doctor shouted at the top of his lungs as he rushed to help. Everyone was taken aback by his scream. It can't be Dion Hart again, the doctor thought. The last time he helped him at the banquet, all the high-ranking officials looked at him with disapproval. Fortunately, the injury was not serious, and he will be fine, the doctor said. Dion's friend didn't believe it, so he started raising his voice at the doctor. So this is a manifestation of the curse of demons, the unknown person stated. It was General Nemesius. The young man did not understand why so many people had gathered around him. I have come to deliver a message to Count Dion, he said. His contemptuous gaze, as usual, irritated the blonde. Having thanked everyone for their concern, he announced that it was time for him to go to a meeting. The so-called friend watched him go. No need to bother, he thought. It seemed to him that Dion did not want to bother others, since there was no way to get rid of the curse. The young man went to the meeting with a dissatisfied face. Meanwhile, Cruel was seeing the Duke off. He sat down in the carriage with a thoughtful face. It was definitely a war budget, he thought. Despite assurances that there would be no war in the near future, caution was needed, the Duke continued. All this so that he can achieve his selfish goals. You don't look well. I heard you were wounded, said Dessert. No, everything is fine, answered a tense heart. As you say, but don't hide your condition from me, the Emperor said. After all, you are one of the most valuable talents of the Empire, he added. Damn, I still haven't gone to the bathroom, the young man thought. Then they began to discuss why the blonde was originally going to come here, to return the estate. The Emperor had no intention of taking away either the High Knights or the estate, and he didn't want to resign either. If you fulfill my request, I will fulfill one in return, said Dessert. The Church of the Atonement, the blonde said in surprise. Yes, the cult that has become rampant in the slums. I want you to deal with it, the Emperor declared. Cruel received the same task from Illustrator. If the blonde's older brother fulfills it first, then Dessert will fulfill his wish. There was no choice. The young man accepted it. Damn, I shouldn't have blurted that out. But I have to stop him at any cost, the young man thought. In that case, when choosing between you, I will fulfill the wish of the one who fulfills it first. Trust me, the blonde man said. Putting a mug of tea on the table, Dion turned to the old man and said, Lately you've been bringing me only this tea. To which the old man replied that this was the drink that the young man enjoyed in the company of the Crown Prince. Remember also reminded the owner of the need to drink the elixir, which he pointed to with his hand. It was prepared by a doctor who had helped the young man in the palace many times. Since he was bitter, Remember brought sweets to him. Leon appeared at the door, saying that she was finally back. She found out information about a cult that needed to be destroyed. It didn't spread beyond the slums. They do not require loyalty or donations and provide free food and water, but they ask to spread their faith. At the moment, this cult is sponsored by several nobles, because free food and water are not cheap. While enjoying the drink, the young man did not understand what their main purpose was. In any case, he is slowly starting to get closer to the edge. I'll go to the toilet first, then I'll think about the rest, he blurted out. Did the Count really want to set an example instead of giving orders to his subordinates? Leon thought. Since it was dangerous, she decided to accompany the blonde man, but the young man did not understand where to go. Where do you mean? To church, obviously, the girl answered. Arriving in the slums, she showed the shortcut to the headquarters. Now it's better for you to hide your identity, the girl advised Dion. Leon, I'll be back soon. I won't repeat my past mistake, he said. As soon as the young man turned the corner, she wanted to say something after him. Having run behind the house, Hart had already disappeared without a trace. Damn, how could she send him alone? After all, the blonde had a rather sickly appearance. Phew, what a relief, Hart thought as he escaped from her. Going behind the building, he saw a young man who was taller than him. These outlines were familiar to him. Cruel. He also noticed someone's presence and was about to turn around. The blonde was taken aback when he saw his brother. Damn, the stupid body started coughing up blood just at the sight of him, the Count thought. But he couldn't show his weakness in front of this bastard. Therefore, he hastened to attack his brother. I suppose you can't sit still with a wounded arm, Cruel shouted. Was he talking about the wound he received from the spy, Dion thought. It was just a small scratch. Then Cruel struck his brother in the vulnerable spot. Ah, you son of a bitch, Dion shouted, clutching his sore spot. Damn, he meant the injury I got while hunting monsters. How did Cruel know about it? The young man wondered. Looking at the younger one, the green-eyed man realized that the mercenaries had done everything right. It was you who sent those killers, shouted the younger Hart. My lord, I was looking for you, the maiden said as she appeared. She was taken aback when she saw Cruel. The older brother just looked away. Dame Leon, Dion said slowly. But she, without listening to the blonde, stood in front of him in order to protect him. Cruel remembered who this maiden was, the commander of the Order of Knights led by Dion. But the blonde blocked her passage with his hand, wanting to deal with his brother himself. Step aside, Dame Leon, commanded the younger Hart. Although it would be nice if you killed him, he thought. Do you intend to infiltrate the church? His brother asked him. I won't answer your question, Dion replied. Then, as a parting word, the elder said that if you interfere, you will be in danger. How nice of you to take care of me when the killers have already been hired, brother, the blonde man said. What he heard shocked Cruel Hart. Fool, he should have spent the rest of his days in peace. Cruel wondered how much longer the younger one would have to endure, since he was born with a weak body and even received the curse of demons. Although I was sure that the youngest did not have long left. Then Dion started to smear himself with mud. He told his friend that she would hardly do such a thing, since she was a noblewoman. "I know it's worth it," she began. "Are you going to leave me alone? You yourself swore not to do that," the young man sneered. "Not at all. As a knight, I cannot go back on my words. After my bravado, I took the dirt in my hands." With trembling hands, she began to bring it to her face. She feels disgusted, but there is nothing she can do. This is the only way they will be accepted into the church. "Get your hair dirty instead." That's the advice Dion got from his brother. It infuriated him that he hadn't thought of this himself. The young man simultaneously wanted to complete the task before his brother, and not meet him again. He then commanded the maiden to hide the sword. "I'll go inside first," he added. He had no time to wait at all. There was a beautiful girl with glasses standing near the church, and she noticed Dion. Approaching her, he acted out a scene as if he had tripped and fallen. Both girls were taken aback by what they saw. It turned out that he didn't do it on purpose. The stone really did interfere with him. "Are you okay?" asked the girl with glasses. "You must have been hungry for so long that you can't stand on your feet," she suggested. "Oh my God, blood," she screamed. He explained that it was a chronic disease, after which she let him inside. The knight was glad that her master had managed to deceive the keeper of the church so gracefully. When Dion's assistant approached the gate, she was informed that there were no vacancies for today. She was given only bread and water. "Stop!" the knight shouted as the door began to close. No amount of dirt can cover her aura. Dion was better at hiding. Sore arm and coughing up blood. Trying to charm the keeper, I decided to clarify the price of food and housing. "You don't need to pay. Please rest," the maiden said. The place looked like a typical temple, with good priests and poor people. The guards resembled holy knights. "You feel uncomfortable," someone addressed Dion with such words. "It's okay. My appearance might embarrass others," the young man said. "If that's the reason, you can relax," the maiden said. "No one will judge you by your appearance." After these words, she pulled the hood off him. "Oh damn," thought the young man. The maiden was taken aback by the red eyes upon seeing them. Then, taking the young man by the face, she said she was amazed by the color of his eyes. "Your mother, what should I do?" The young man didn't understand. "Is it possible that you?" the virgin began. "I knew you wouldn't like it," Hart blurted out. "Who could possibly like them? My own family abandoned me because of them." He appealed to pity. "No, I don't think they're disgusting. Dion Hart has the same eye color, that's all," the girl blurted out. Then she told him about the rumors that Dion was a vampire and an evil spirit. "Do you know what this place is?" the maiden asked him. He told her everything he knew, and asked how they had managed to grow so quickly. Religion was created to save the oppressed Eduardo. The reason why poor Dion is in this situation is because of the Emperor. Even your downfall can be blamed on desert, since he made the roads bad, the girl said. The Church of the Atonement is not like other religions. We believe only in redemption and nothing else, she added. "Who will save me?" the young man asked. After talking with the girl, I started walking around the church. "As soon as you become a devoted believer, you will immediately know everything." This is what the keeper answered him. Apparently, he will have to dig under every corner in order to find out the truth. All this time, a girl of about 12 years old, full of life, followed him. He was amazed that she looked so happy. "Nice to meet you. My name is Sia," the girl said, also filled with compassion for the blonde. Judging by her eyes, her brain hadn't been washed. But I didn't understand why she praised the church so much. "I really want to believe in redemption," the young man said. "They were being watched all this time." "What are you doing there? We need to pray," Paul shouted. Is this her brother? Why is she staring at him like that? The boy wondered. At this time, the young man was thinking about how to get into the secure rooms. Someone shouted, "Wait a minute." Turning around, the blonde was taken aback by what he saw. Meanwhile, Leon was trying to get inside. It seemed to her that she would be able to enter the building through the back gate. Then she noticed that the bread was lying on the floor. "Call the captain of security immediately," came pouring out behind her. "We have a stranger," the girl in glasses declared to her assistant. Could it really be about the Count? Thought the knight. A moment later, having broken the wall, she got inside. "Where is the Count, that is the Lord?" she asked. Meanwhile, Dion, hiding behind the wall, was breathing heavily. It seemed to him that if they called him, they would seize him. "You seem to be very tired. Take some bread," suggested a church member. He walked from side to side, but for a moment he was afraid. He managed to find a prayer room, but there was nothing interesting there. Then he pulled back one of the curtains. Feeling someone's presence, he turned around. The priest and the girl with glasses looked somewhere with fear. The window was open. He managed to escape without being noticed. "Please check everything carefully. Someone has broken in here," the priest shouted. The girl in glasses looked around in bewilderment. Something was happening behind one of the curtains. Someone pulled Dion close and covered his mouth with a hand. "Quiet, unless you want to get caught," Cruel said. "Now let us pray for our redemption. I have gathered devoted believers here today," said the keeper. She must be of high rank, Dion thought. For the priest to step aside. Today I have prepared true atonement for you, she said. The Virgin suggested entering another room to hear a more detailed explanation. This wall, although it seems ordinary, but the chosen ones can enter through it. Then she easily pushed her hand through it. Please come in, the maiden said kindly. Dion didn't understand what this was. Magic. It's the little kid's turn. Let's go, Paul, the girl suggested. The lady looked at them with impatience. Then she slowly turned her gaze. That's it, the portal closed, leaving behind a bit of dust. Dion hurried away from the place behind the curtain. He woke up a little, because he had spent so much time without moving. Stop interfering in my affairs. I can take care of myself, he told Cruel. The elder one began to prove that his actions were to his advantage, and not to the blonde one. When she touched the brick, she felt something. A precious stone? The young man asked in surprise. As long as a person pays a certain price, the item will create an effect similar to magic. This method was created by humans to use magic that only demons are capable of. But not everyone is able to use enchanted items. This item was of high quality, so he was extremely curious about who was behind it. Damn, if I give in, all the glory will go to this bastard, the young man thought. Suddenly the door opened and a boy ran in. We need to notify Madame Shaylin immediately, he shouted. Madam, someone is looking for their lord and is causing trouble in the building, he added. Hiding Dion didn't understand anything yet. Then the door to this room was broken down with a bang. Who are you? Asked the frightened boy. Where is my lord? Leon asked him. Stop, don't touch me, describe him, the poor fellow screamed. She opened her mouth but realized that she might say something unnecessary. He is my lord, the girl cried out. Is that his name or something, the poor fellow wondered. Dion, watching her, didn't understand why she was acting so recklessly. Shaylin, approaching the stone, understood from the voice who was there. That strange maiden is a knight at the gate. Coincidentally, there is a poor man with red eyes here. Damn, I knew it, she said. The Emperor assigned this to Dion Hart. How you got in here, Cruel, when the windows were closed? Shaylin couldn't understand. I know what you're up to, but I'm not buying it. I'm sure the Duke sent you here to test you, she said. Then she asked if he had received any important information from the chief. Before Cruel left, the Duke asked the hero of the Empire to do everything quietly and safely. The green-eyed man said he could handle it. As someone who serves the same master, I can only not call security, the girl in glasses said. But he promised to strengthen it as soon as Dion got inside. However, she didn't think the blonde would go that far. Then turning to her people, she asked them for forgiveness. Shall we continue the prayer? She asked. Everything is according to his will. Looking at the passed-out boy, Leon planned to continue searching for her lord. He came out from under the table and called the girl. The stone no longer glowed, so the connection was broken. Dame Leon, he asked her. She suddenly decided to apologize for calling him by the wrong title in front of everyone. But I intend to take full responsibility, the maiden added. Having served you, I realized how meticulous you are in some things, she continued. And brave enough to face the opponent head-on, Leon insisted. From this moment on, I swear to serve you for the rest of my life, the maiden finished. Well, she found the place and time to tell me this, the blonde thought. It was strange, Dion thought, to take a knight's oath in such a place. Yet it suited his purposes. I will do everything to prove that I am worthy of your devotion, the blonde played along. Isn't it time for us to get back to business, the girl asked the lord. Today they will retreat. Only thanks to the High Knights will they be able to continue a thorough investigation. They also need the help of a sorcerer. 3 days have passed since visiting the church. Are we really going to fail to find the right person, Dion thought. Hiring someone would take too long, so they could only hope that Cruel wouldn't find a sorcerer first. Remember appeared at the door and hastened to please the young man. The sorcerer, the desired man, was found. His village was only 1 day's journey away. The guys immediately hurried to go there. Dion wondered why the necessary person lived in such a place. Since sorcerers are often hermits, the night girl was concerned about her master's behavior. We need to hurry to find the sorcerer. But he didn't have time to finish. As soon as I saw a familiar face, Dion really didn't want to meet his brother here. As he stood there with his mouth open, something flew towards him. A stone. Someone threw it with all their might, aiming at the blonde's head. After this, Dion started bleeding again. My lord, are you all right? Leon shouted. This was done by the grandmother. While they were trying to calm her down, she was shouting something about a disaster. Get out of our village, she blurted out. How dare you disrespect the lord? Leon intervened. A disaster, Dion said hysterically. No, continued the angry younger heart. Rather an evil than a disaster, isn't it? Asked the young man. We must kill him immediately, said the grandmother. Nasty old woman, thought Dion, watching as they tried to calm her down. Wait, could she really be a witch? It dawned on the blonde. You don't have to hate everything, she continued. Remember this, no one and nothing, the old woman could not calm down. Otherwise, a disaster will happen. The young man had to pull away from her. What nonsense. How did she manage to get so close, and where did she get so much strength from? Dion wondered. Grandma, the girl said quietly in her ear. Ah, Ran, it's you, the old woman was surprised. You yourself taught me not to judge a person by their cover, the maiden said. Yeah, what a senile woman, thought Doan, examining his hand. Wait, I was waiting for you, Ran said suddenly. She turned out to be the grandmother's granddaughter and hastened to apologize. It's okay, Dion said with difficulty. You are here to find the sorcerer, right? Asked the girl. She was also a witch and was aware of the issue regarding the Church of the Atonement. If you take me with you, I will help you achieve your goals, Ran said. The young man did not understand where the maiden had obtained such information from. There was nowhere to go if not him, then that bastard Cruel. In that case, I'm counting on you, Daon said. It's okay if I don't get the sorcerer, thought the elder heart. Suddenly the grandmother's hand touched the hero. My child, you are here too, said the old woman. After these words, she hastened to hug Cruel. The elder brother wondered what all this meant. You've been through a lot, so I won't hate you, she said. You must live long and win the battle, right? Asked the grandmother. A battle to see who can live longer. These words struck Cruel to the depths of his soul. You are a child who foretells destruction, but if you win, this will not happen. The catastrophe will pass. The grandmother did not calm down. However, if Cruel is on the verge of death or wishes to die, he will need to kill the child before he leaves the world. Tired of her chatter, the elder brother pulled his sword from its sheath. What are you trying to achieve? Cruel asked her. Don't cross the line. I'll handle it myself, the green-eyed man said. After all, he himself had long ago decided that his death would come after Dion's death. Ran claimed to see the destiny and future of young Hart. She added that they predicted the future of one person, whose fate is closely intertwined with the blonde man. And who were they talking about? Dion asked her. The boy from this village followed the boys all this time. While we can't go into detail, there are some things I can reveal, Ran said. Hatred is like a mountain fire for Dion. It starts with a small spark and grows until it consumes everything. While a child is like a bomb that can explode at any moment. When it explodes, a fire will start and vice versa. A guy named Dan came out of the forest and asked the guys to take him into the squad. If you are a disaster, then you will need me in the future, he said. One day his destiny was revealed to him. Madam Witch, what did you see there? The children asked her. Grandma, something is wrong with my future, Dan clarified. Puppet, you are a creature that will serve disaster, the old woman screamed. You will be her supporter, she added. From that day on, the village completely changed its attitude towards him. He remembered how a piece of dirt had flown at him. The children who had been friends and played with him not long ago tried to drive him out of the village. He understood what was happening, but he couldn't get used to the changes. Guys, calm down. You can't punish someone for something they haven't done yet, Ran intervened. All his friends and neighbors turned away from him, forgetting what had happened. One day, one of the men threw a tantrum at the witch girl about a boy. If everyone was so sure of this, then the young man vowed to live up to expectations. Since his fate and the fate of the disaster are intertwined, he would have met him someday. After such a long wait, finally, Dan recognized Dion as a disaster the moment he saw him. His joy knew no bounds when he met him. The events moved to the mansion of Count Hart. Welcome back, my lord. Who is this with you? Remember asked. Ah, that bastard, Dion thought. He is a villager whom the lord decided to take with him. His name is Dan, Leon intervened. I lack education, so I may not know much, and I also have little experience in battle, he said. Maybe I could bring it back right now, the blonde thought. Okay, Dan, I'll talk to you later, Hart said coldly. Looking at Leon, he ordered her to bring 10 knights here. Can I come with you? Dan asked. No, wait here for now, the blonde said with lightning speed. Yes, sir, the boy said discontentedly. He's upset. Did he really want to go with me that badly? Dion thought. No matter how you looked at it, the boy looked suspicious. But Dion liked him nonetheless. Meanwhile, evening had already arrived. A strange smell appeared in the Church of the Atonement. The girls who were cleaning smelled it. No nonsense. Calmly leave the room and we will leave you alive, shouted one of Dion's warriors. Young Hart gave them a task. They had to start a fire in that place. They needed to survey the situation and kill every suspicious person. The squad leader suggested that Hart was too soft, and it would be easier to kill everyone. Stop arguing and do as you're told, Dion commanded. Ran intervened, saying that it was her request, as now was not the time for bloodshed. She couldn't tell all the details, but it was all for the count. Then trust us, the leader of the squad shouted joyfully. At the time, he believed that they simply needed to follow orders. But when I saw the disabled and children with the elderly, I couldn't understand how they could cause unrest in such a place. Knights in white uniforms. These are bloodthirsty ghost knights, whispered one of the church visitors. What? They belong to the vampire count. What did he need here? The parishioner wondered. Our life has just started to improve. Even if this is an evil cult that hides behind good intentions, cried the child, grabbing the warrior by the clothes. Why are you doing this to us? Please go away, she continued crying. If you're going to destroy this place, start with me, she blurted out. What he heard struck the head of the detachment to the depths of his soul. If this place disappears, she will have nowhere to go. Since she had touched the warrior in the line of duty, he couldn't let it go unpunished. He had to use her as an example. No, Sia, come here, shouted the boy who appeared and brought her here. The warrior had already drawn his sword from its sheath and swung it, but suddenly his weapon fell to the ground. He couldn't do that to a small child. This place is their last hope. They are so desperate that death is better for them than the destruction of this place. Dion Hart, the Emperor's sword, one of the girls who watched the burning church, fired. It turns out that the destruction of the church was his order. "I will not forgive him for destroying our paradise," shouted one of the maddened people. Someone's sword was pointed at the Emperor. "So, this is the stone," Rand said when they found themselves in the room with the portal. The fuss came at the right time, Dion thought, because he felt nothing in the prayer room. The stone had many functions, such as communication, distortion of space, and something that greatly amazed the girl. "It's not a spell," she cried, "but the magic that lies behind it. It can't be." Dion was scared. How could she appear in the human realm, he wondered. I wonder if the Demon King knew about this. Then Rand said that she had figured out the structure and asked for some time. Dion didn't believe that sorcerers were able to pass through space created by magic. It seemed that she was no ordinary witch, he thought. The girl did something to the stone, causing it to glow purple. Hearing that they could now enter, the young man was surprised at her abilities. Not knowing what lay ahead, he gathered his strength. "Let's go," the younger Hart said confidently. A bright flash from the stone blinded Dion, and he had to cover his face with his hand. What they saw there amazed the young man. "Are we back in the prayer hall?" young Hart asked. "No, it's something else. Look around, you see the cracks," Rand said. There were magic circles located throughout the room, and the cracks led to a wooden door. There was clearly some connection here. "I'll go first, sir," said Leon, opening the door. A moment later, the boys found themselves in a dark forest. "This is a consequence of spatial magic," Rand stated. "It appears that the real room could be entered by knowing how to open it correctly. It was possible to be transported there automatically by performing the necessary actions." Dion clarified what needs to be done for this, and how much time it will take. Since this was new to Rand, it was 10 minutes. Quite a lot. But what if someone was already behind this door? What if my older brother has already done everything and escaped through the back door? The blonde thought. But there was no other way out but to wait. "I can't lose to Cruel." He didn't calm down. Leon noticed how nervous her master was. Then she noticed a wooden chair. She immediately invited Hart to sit down and rest. What she saw shocked her. What? He was just here? Where did he manage to disappear to? She wondered. "Sir, where are you?" Leon shouted. The witch also noticed his absence. After his transition, Dion was struck by the picture that appeared before him. The young man met his older brother, Cruel. What a bastard, how did he end up here, the blonde thought. Meanwhile, people continued to stare at the burning church. "They set everything on fire here," thought the girl in glasses. "They drove out ordinary people and are selectively grabbing those who remain." Not the best solution, because if it had acted, it would have blocked the entire burning building completely, so that absolutely everyone there would die. For Dion, the most important thing now is finding evidence. It was necessary to preserve evidence of who was behind the Salvation Church. Then a complete purge could be carried out. Young Hart would get nothing, she thought. Cruel greeted his brother calmly. "Where the hell do you get information from so quickly?" "You figured it all out so quickly," Dion said. The elder did not answer him. He only unclenched his fist, in which he held the torch. It was aimed at the important notes that were lying on the floor. This action greatly surprised the blonde. What are you doing?" the younger one screamed. He made a powerful lunge forward to attack his brother. But Cruel intercepted his hand without even moving. "Why did you burn everything?" Dion didn't calm down. "Don't you need them too?" the young man continued. "Shit, this damn weak body is the reason I can't even escape from this idiot's grasp," thought the younger Hart. Suddenly Cruel picked up the boy and placed him on his shoulder. "Psycho bastard, let me go!" Dion screamed. No matter how much he thought, he still couldn't understand why Cruel was doing this. "I didn't understand who was behind this church, because there weren't many people in the Empire who could create such a powerful organization. Then I wondered who was the most influential person after the Imperial family. Whose symbol is the color purple? Could this really be the one Cruel obeys?" Dion continued to reason. He realized he had been given the same job as the Duke. "Oh, you bastards, you decided to play with me," the blonde shouted. A fight in which from the very beginning there was no other option but to lose, and he had to endure so many difficulties. "Get away from me." After these words, young Hart hit his brother with all his might. "You must like playing with me, bastard," was the question the elder received. "Let me go right now," Dion said, coughing up blood. The brothers found themselves in a room with Ran and Leon, the latter screaming when she saw her master. Cruel threw the younger one into her arms. "Sir, you are bleeding. How do you feel?" she screamed. "Hatred is like a forest fire to you. It will burn everything in its path. If you want to live, keep quiet about what you learned here," Cruel said. "You should never hate anyone," Dion remembered these words. What the hell were these documents, he thought. It seemed that everything was planned in conjunction with the Duke. This was the proof, and Cruel emerged victorious. He was distracted from his thoughts by Leon entering the room. She reported that Ran had already left without saying goodbye to the young man. The blonde wanted to ask her if it was possible to somehow curse Cruel, but he couldn't tell Leon about it. The girl continued. If the gentleman means penetration into the secret room, then this happened thanks to the blonde. Ran reported that turning left 3 times and right twice in a circle would automatically activate the transfer to the secret room. That is then, the young man thought. Completely by accident I managed to activate the transfer. Lian said she was very surprised when the gentleman disappeared, but was glad that he was found. Remember entered the room and said that the witch had left a note for the young man before leaving. He also added that the blonde had guests. A soldier appeared at the door with the news that the emperor was summoning Dion. This news made Dion very sad. A scream echoed throughout the castle. It came from the luxurious bedroom. A man with bright yellow hair woke up from a nightmare. After I ascended the throne, I can't sleep properly, he thought. Every night he dreamed of the people he had killed. Their ghosts slowly appeared before him. Eduardo, I hate you, one of them said. Why are you the only one left alive, he said, coming close to the emperor. Then the phantom took Dessert by the throat. I think I'm in really bad shape, thought the emperor. Uncle, shouted the young man who appeared in the doorway. It was Elpidius. He came to inform that the honorary Count Dion Hart and Cruel had arrived. You are fine. Your face is very pale, he added. You must have been having nightmares again, the young man suggested. It's so annoying, hissed the sleep-deprived Eduardo. It seemed to him that ghosts began to envelop Elpidius. Where is he looking? Because no one entered the room except me, the young man thought. It can't be, you're hallucinating, the boy shouted. He tried to help, but his uncle refused. I've had a lot of work lately due to preparations for the war, so I'm just overtired, Dessert replied. He didn't have time to pay attention to it, so he hoped that the young man would believe it. How is it that there is nothing terrible in hallucinations? The young man did not calm down. How long will you suffer from guilt? He shouted. I know it sounds like a disease, but if it weren't for me, they would still be alive, Dessert said. The young man tried to object, but the emperor interrupted him. The decision for the 8-year war was Eduardo's decision, so it doesn't matter whether they were enemies or friends. The fact is, they are already dead. And he must bear this burden not only as an emperor, but also as a man. But don't worry, I won't give up, said an encouraged Dessert. Dion stood with a dissatisfied face, waiting for the emperor. Cruel was there too, glaring at his younger brother. The fact that the hero ignored the blonde irritated him. The emperor gave permission to enter. Seeing the boys, he greeted them. Eternal radiance, Emperor, they said in chorus. Your servant Cruel has arrived, the green-eyed man declared. Dion said the same thing, using his first name and his last name. Raise your heads. I hear you've completed the mission successfully, Dessert said. Heard that the Honorable Earl Dion Hart had exhibited violent behavior, he added. Damn, so it's because of me, thought young Hart. He felt like he was being reprimanded. But no, the young man was actively creating ways to find out who was involved. Both of them distinguished themselves, but Cruel brought the evidence first, so the wish goes to him. As expected, Dion thought. The Emperor asked Cruel what he wanted. I would like to obtain the right of ownership of the Hart estate, which Dion owns, the elder stated. How interesting, said Dessert. What do you think about this? Asked Edward the younger one. This is my land and that bastard will not get it. That's what he wanted to tell me. These possessions were a heavy burden for me, so I would be grateful if Cruel took them from me, the young man declared. Did you know that in order to declare an estate as your own, you need a title? This was the question the elder received. Since the county of Hart already exists, it will be impossible to award Cruel another title, so he can either keep the name Hart and get another one, or become the true patriarch of the county. After the war ended, he offered Dion the same thing. The Hart family, as someone who survived for the sake of revenge against his own family, why would he take on this role? You don't want either the position of monarch or the family name. What can I do for you then? Asked the emperor. The opportunity to destroy a family with one's own hands, the young man stated. Whatever you want, it will be easier to do with a title, Dessert said. Since it won't be passed on after death, it simplifies things. It was the emperor's best decision. Cruel is not given any other options. Most likely, his brother will choose the option of becoming the patriarch of the Hart family. Cruel said he did not want to become a successor or give up his family name. Dion was struck by these words. He didn't understand why he refused. The earldom had a rich history, unlike the title. The only heirs were Cruel and Dion. Therefore, the seat of the family patriarch was currently vacant. Why would he refuse such an opportunity? He wouldn't mind leaving the family without a successor, Dion thought. You are both so stubborn, said Dessert. He probably just wants revenge on me, Dion thought. Why don't you transfer the ownership rights to Duke Illustra? The emperor clarified. So we've decided, said Eduardo. Everyone is free except the honorary Earl Hart. No, don't leave me alone, Cruel, thought the younger brother. And what should he do now in such a situation? The young man wondered. He finally realized that I was not the one he needed, he reasoned. The emperor noticed the blonde's displeasure. He would like Dion not to keep it to himself, but to say what he wants. You would have found out sooner or later, the emperor began. But I plan to declare war, he added. Getting rid of the church came at just the right time, as the kingdom of Ilion had become very noisy and unbearable. It all starts with him, Eduardo added. Fuck, I'm so tired of wars, Dion thought. I would like to leave the Demon Kingdom in your hands, said the Emperor. The Demon King will not sit idly by while the Empire takes over the continent, as Dion is the only one who has earned his trust. The Emperor needs Heart to be close to the ruler and serve as a guarantor of non-interference. As you wish, the young man answered. The Emperor was about to add something. He pointed his finger at the seal the Demon King had left behind. I hope to see you without her next time, he said. I'll do my best, Dion replied discontentedly. The events moved to the Duke's estate. You got the Heart estate as a reward. Not bad, he informed Cruel. Yes, his elder brother answered him. Come to think of it, when was the last time he encountered Count Heart in the palace? He said that he was trying to get the estate back. I hope you didn't take it for your brother, asked the Duke. The hero replied that he had nothing more to wish for. What he heard amazed the Duke. Of course, apparently I'm too nervous before the upcoming meeting, he said. He added that he did not blame Cruel, since this situation was only meant to reward him. When asked if there was anything else worthy of mention, the hero replied that there was not. He didn't say anything about Dion finding out the truth. Young Heart guessed that the Duke was behind all this. If he finds out about this. Sir Cruel, his master called out. Let's go, otherwise we'll be late for the meeting, he added. All he could do was hide this truth. After all, if the Duke finds out, he will want the hero to get rid of his brother. Shaylin, meanwhile, returned. She did a great job with the church. The owner praised her. She said that the church has many followers, and at this rate, Illustrator will be able to achieve what he wants. They gave free bread and water there. Who will help poor people? It was right of Duke Illustrator to sponsor this place. The goal was to create believers who were absolutely devoted to the Duke. Make sure people think the Emperor is evil. Desert abandoned them, destroyed this place. The Duke, in comparison to him, is atonement. The Emperor could not be allowed to reveal them. Trust me, Shaylin said. After a short dialogue, Illustrator went to the meeting. One of the people did not understand what the matter was. The other one thought that he wouldn't learn anything new or interesting by sitting here. The third suggested that the Emperor would not have called everyone together for nothing. Idiots, thought the Duke. There was only one reason Desert could have called everyone together. About what he excels at. What he does in order to prove his worth, to declare war. The beautifully decorated red door opened slightly. Eduardo appeared and asked if everyone was there. Eternal radiance of the Empire, said the respected people. He thanked them for coming, and Illustrator noticed that the Emperor looked irritated. He got straight to the point and declared war 3 days later. Everyone present immediately became frightened. The Emperor did nothing, since no one was openly hostile to him, but some have forgotten their fear of the Empire in 2 years. One of the men began to suggest other options than starting military action. In another kingdom, they were already whispering that Dion Heart had been killed. Since that devil is killed, the king began. Then the Empire will calm down for a while. Hard times give birth to heroes. Countless numbers of them were born and died during the war. Only 3 survived. Dion is the last one who deserves fame, but it is his name that is widely known to the public. Thanks to him, the Empire was able to defeat half of the forces, so the young man is the driving force. But the continent must learn that there are others in the Empire. Respectable people were shouting that the conquest of the remaining continents was a good idea, but shouldn't it wait? After all, they have not yet managed to deal with the revolutionary forces. Good point, that's why you're here, Desert said. I think you're forgetting something, he added, placing his mug of tea on the table. They forget that Eduardo is an emperor. If they speak to him without the intention of insulting him, then they should not finish their sentence. Yes, Your Majesty. The authoritative figures have resigned themselves. By the next meeting, they needed to figure out how to deal with the revolutionary army. Duke, said Eduardo when everyone had left the room. The criminal behind the church was exposed. Apparently, he was in confrontation with other aristocrats. The illustrator apologized for not being able to keep an eye on the internal strife within the nobility. Then Desert drew his sword from its sheath with lightning speed. You think I'm an idiot? The Emperor screamed. The Duke never leaves his opponents alive. There are interesting rumors going around, that the Emperor is evil, and the illustrator is redemption. I heard such things, Eduardo asked him. Isn't this nonsense spoken by ignoramuses? The Duke clarified. Definitely yes, for I am more of a disaster than an evil, declared the Emperor. Your Majesty, you cannot kill me, the Duke declared. Illustrator seemed to have forgotten that Desert had already wiped one duchy from the pages of history. It would have been no trouble for him to repeat it. I'm sure this fact won't make you hesitate, but you still can't do it, Illustrator denied. After all, the Emperor will not be able to start a war if the nobles resist. Ha, you think I'm evil? Said Desert. Then he removed the blade from the Duke's neck, and he added that he was looking in the wrong place, to take over the Emperor's power. First, it was necessary to get rid of the Imperial dog. It was necessary to start acting actively. What? Young Heart asked in surprise. You are heading to the demon realm. That's what I asked, his friend repeated. The blonde man wondered how the Crown Prince knew about this. Don't be so tense. I, the future Emperor, think I don't know about your secrets, he said. I suppose the Emperor is sharing important information with him, the young man thought. As you know, His Majesty ordered you to return immediately if the Demon King decides to start a war, the Crown Prince continued. Whatever happened, Dion, your friend's tone changed. You must come back, he finished. I'll keep that in mind, Hart said coldly. Okay, the Crown Prince replied, slowly rising from his chair. I appreciate what you do, he added. Hero of the Empire and commander of the Demon Army Squad. What if the king offered Dion something better than what the young man received in the human kingdom? The Crown Prince reasoned. He should have been prepared for betrayal from Hart. He believed that if he could form a bond with him, he could be kept in the human realm. Brother came from behind the prince. The sister asked how the conversation with the count went. We discussed something important, Dion's friend said. Then he added that Alethea is next after her uncle and older brother. Why are you so impatient, she asked, which greatly surprised him. What do you mean, the Crown Prince decided to clarify? The Emperor talks only about the Revolutionary Army and the war, the younger one continued. Then, taking the Crown Prince by the hand, she asked him to come with her. She made tea for two. Her brother needed a break. We need to take things easier, she said. Uncle started hallucinating, the Crown Prince suddenly said. The dead cling to him ever more tightly. Eduardo was a precious family member to him, so the prince could not turn away from him and his problems. He informed his sister that the Emperor refused to visit the physician and could not influence his sense of responsibility. You misspoke, said Alethea. A feeling of guilt, not responsibility. Yes, you are right, said the Crown Prince. I remembered my uncle's words. Since it is his fault, he will accept full responsibility. I will do my best, so you must concentrate on what you are studying, the brother said. The young man's face changed. Uncle, we were young then, thought the Crown Prince. Youth in the imperial family was perceived as a sin, so no matter what happened, Dion had to come back. Young Hart was deep in thought. I came to tell him something important, but I don't think now is a good time, thought the boy who came to Dion. He heard that the gentleman's personality often changed, but today it was more serious than usual. A dangerous atmosphere, what if I make things worse, he thought. His question struck Hart as a surprise, as he was keen to try investing money. It's not that the boy became greedy and said he would give all his earnings to Dion. From day one, I've been wondering, Hart began. What was the boy's goal? It can't be that Dan would just follow a complete stranger. I remembered his words that he was poorly educated, so he might not know much, and that he didn't have much experience in battles. You either want to win my trust, or your goal is simply to stalk me for no reason, the blonde stated. But whatever the truth is, it doesn't matter. He received some document and began to study it. If you show this paper to Remember, he will lend you money, Hart said. I don't know what you're trying to achieve, but don't get in my way, Dion said. After his words, he hurried out of the room. As he was leaving, Remember said that he had packed everything he needed into his bag. I will not be in the Empire for some time, the young man said. Count, someone called out to him. It was Hart's army. She wondered how he could leave them without saying goodbye. Hey, you bastards, stop it! Leon shouted at them. Oh, looks like they got you, said Remember. Before I leave you the estate, sort them out, the Count instructed. Once again, you are entrusting the old man with difficult tasks, said the butler. We will go with you, the warrior shouted. Then in an instant, the old man knocked him off his horse. Butler, the squad leader said in surprise. His horse reared, and she hastened to knock down the remaining warriors. To you, I apologize, Leon. Stop and get up. The last one will get 10 penalty laps, the maiden shouted. One of the members of the Revolutionary Army had been watching them all this time. Remember felt his presence, and he slowly turned his gaze towards that tree. As he walked along the road, Dion wondered if the Demon Kingdom was in that direction. He, too, was pursued by soldiers of the Revolutionary Army. One of them pulled his sword from its sheath. The events moved to the headquarters of this army. The illustrator suggested that no action be taken until the Emperor had captured at least half of the continent. The man who was sitting in the same room with the Duke listened to him attentively. Daniel, the leader of the revolutionaries, said that he did not dare question the illustrator's decisions, but he was interested in the reason. The war will one day reach its peak, and the Emperor will not be able to stop it. Then the warriors will get their chance. At that moment, they will try to replenish the losses of troops. This meant that they would not be able to fight back. Illustrator's strategy was admirable. Daniel was going to follow the Duke's order. Dion Hart secretly left the county on the Emperor's orders, said the maiden who came into the room. Meanwhile, the young man walked through the forest, suspecting nothing. The illustrator said that it was necessary to find a person who would follow him. Daniel said that the Duke had already done so much for them, so they would send their man. Unfortunately, the troops that follow Hart will die. Everything happened just as the Duke had predicted. The Emperor must have predicted this turn of events and sent someone to protect the young man. The order is carried out. Let's go back, said the boy. Then he saw a blade in front of him. A moment later he was killed, but the Emperor's people were not safe either, for the hero of the Empire dealt with them. If those who were given the order do not return, then Dessert will start to get nervous. Well, this is a pathetic trick to deceive the Emperor. But if they are lucky, they will be able to find out Dion's goal. After eliminating everyone, provided that he can chase after his younger brother, Cruel received orders to confirm where the Count was heading. The church, meanwhile, had already completely burned down. The girl was asked how long she would sit like that. It was the boy who had brought her here not long ago. They had to be constantly on guard to survive. If it weren't for this place, they wouldn't have thought that such warmth could exist, especially considering that this world has disappeared. I'm going to join the Revolutionary Army, her friend informed her. He added that he would take revenge on the Emperor for what he had done. He asked if she would go with him. Sha didn't answer. Her face was lifeless. The child he found in the slums was younger than him. It's like that feeling when you have a little sister. The girl did not extend her hand in response. Then he clenched his fist tightly. Okay, live like this if you want, but it will be worse for you if you don't go, Paul said. After walking a little, the boy stopped. Stay close, but don't get emotionally attached. If he hadn't gotten attached to her, it wouldn't have hurt him. But it was too late. He couldn't ignore her. The events moved to the castle of the Demon King. Some of its inhabitants eagerly awaited the return of Arut. Suddenly, something caught Ririnel's attention. A signal has been received from the western gate. Last time, the signal was from another squad leader, and the Demon King gave orders not to waste magic. The girl flew to the right place. It really is him, she said happily. Sir Harut returned to the Demon King's territory. Seeing him, she hurried to land with lightning speed. It's been a while since we've seen each other, Ririnel said happily. The young man was immediately asked how his mission had gone. It was tiring. He found people who had created a complex belief. It was not such a secret that Arut had gone to the human kingdom, and it was better that way than upset her with silence. In simple terms, their religion is similar to how demons follow their creator, the king. It seemed to him that from the point of view of the owner of the castle, this was the case. What the maiden said surprised him. If they want to believe in something meaningless, then why can't they believe in Sir Arut's success? Then she began to propose creating a cult of the commander of the Zero Detachment. Then, changing the subject, she said that the Demon King was currently in the park. There was a dialogue between the other rulers. Initially, this place was called the Abyss. Not only demons, but also other species lived here. Because control over the dimension is concentrated mainly in the hands of demons, this place is nicknamed the Demon Realm. Over tea, they discussed the most interesting events that had occurred in the human kingdom. After capturing the continent, people will clearly want to come here, the Elf King said. He hoped that humans would not harm his people because of the demons' naive behavior or their mistakes. What impudence, said the leader of the demons. Well, that's wonderful, he added. The agent he sent to the human realm has returned. Arut appeared in front of the gazebo where the heads of their creatures sat. How was your trip? The black-haired man hurried to find out. The Demon King had many questions for the boy, especially about taking over the kingdom of Ilion. Yes, your majesty, answered Arut. The emperor wishes to gain power over the entire continent. I've heard of this agent, Elf said. Then he asked the Demon King if he really thought the man was trustworthy. These words did not please young Hart. The Demon King placed his hand on his shoulder to calm him down. As long as Arut is here, I believe he can be trusted, the black-haired man stated. While I'm here, the blonde thought. In other words, as soon as I turn my back on the kingdom, it will finish me off, he thought. So, what is the emperor's order? They asked the young man. Watch the Demon King and prevent him from interfering in the war. And if he does intervene, then Harut will need to return no matter what. The young man also added that magic was discovered in the human kingdom. While investigating the situation with a religion called the Redemption Church, I confirmed that magic was used instead of witchcraft. That's how it is, the Demon King said sullenly. I'll take care of this, and you go and rest for now, he ordered. The demon used magic in the human realm, yet the king did not become worried or angry. The head of the castle ordered me to go to Ben before resting and show him my left hand. The doctor asked to show the young man where he was wounded, but Arut refused, saying that everything was fine. The black-haired man watched them. The elf chuckled. What was the lord of the castle going to investigate? What kind of demon would dare to use magic without the king's knowledge? Most likely this is your doing, he insisted. The king just chuckled. What an accusation. The elf became even more angry as the black-haired man was not afraid of the consequences of using magic in such a way. The world will send a hero soon. Unlike before, he will become a new threat to the Demon King. There is no reason to be afraid, the black-haired man said. The hero will appear no matter what, and their paths will cross. Okay, I don't care whether you get killed or not, the elf said. Do as you wish, he added. It is only a matter of time before humans learn of the existence of other creatures, if they invade the demon realm. They needed to develop a plan against the human invasion. Suddenly the Elf King became ill. You could have chosen your words better. The others also felt uneasy. I don't expect a respectful style of speech from an elf whose lips are still wet with milk, the demon declared. Let's move on. What do I expect from children anyway, he said. He knew one fact, that elves can't stand demons. But try not to be so obvious next time and be more patient, the castle's leader said. Meanwhile, Ben continued to pursue Arut in order to check on his condition. I just need to rest, said the commander of the Zero Squad. It would be nice if he valued himself as much as others, the doctor thought. This trait in him has not changed at all. Ben ran into the room where the blonde man and the head of the castle were. Why the hell is the doctor late? The black-haired man was indignant. Is this really why I appointed you to your position? He continued. I don't deserve to be his doctor, Ben thought. It seemed to him that because of his endless lateness, Arut wanted to kill him. But no, that was not the case. Do you want to die? The young man asked him. The answer was negative. I don't need to do this, so live in peace, the commander of the Zero Squad informed him. The other doctors were glad that their colleague was alive, but they still couldn't believe it. He told them that he was proud to be Sir Harut's physician. That day he vowed that he would try his best to ensure that this would not happen again. Then Ben began to insist on examining the young man. He took out a magic stone created using the magic of the youth and the magic of the Demon King. As soon as Dion becomes ill, the stone informs the doctor about it. But if something happens outside the kingdom, Ben won't know. Forget about it, said the blonde. The young man was met at the door by an advisor. He asked what the doctor was doing there and received the answer that he should always stay close to Harut. Ed also began to bother his boss. He was bombarded with questions. All he wanted now was to just relax. Suddenly someone called out to the young man. It was Hien. She wanted to talk to him, but suddenly someone grabbed her by the hair. It was Ed. He apologized to the commander, and he added that he would return soon. The boys didn't understand why he was so angry. The advisor clenched his fist tightly. You, a lowly succubus. How dare you speak to Sir Arit? He was indignant. Then he asked her if she had completely lost her mind. Sir Harut likes the garden I tend, the maiden began. He said it was a good place to calm your nerves. She just wanted to decorate his room with flowers. That's why I took one of the copies to him as a gift. This can't be, the advisor screamed. I thought he would like it, the girl said. Okay, I'll hand it over myself, Ed said. What she really wanted was to receive praise from the commander of Squad Zero. Ed, don't kill her, Arit said. After all, she didn't do anything wrong. The advisor was perplexed by his leader's words. Don't approach him so carelessly, Ed advised. If it weren't for his words, you would already be dead, he added. The young man placed the flower in front of him, and he began to look at it, meditating. Why Ed accepted this from Hien? What the hell happened? He didn't understand. At first, the monstrous plant hummed something. Then it suddenly opened its mouth, which really scared Aruta. Ed promised that the gardener had trained it and it wouldn't attack. Suddenly a dagger flew past the young man. This scared him greatly. As expected from you, said the girl who entered the room. It was the commander of the second squad, Devilania. The blonde remained so cold-blooded, did her blade not attract at least a drop of attention. The young man began to say something, but she couldn't make out what exactly. He was so shocked that he couldn't make a sound. Then she tried to repeat what the blonde man had mumbled. What they meant was that they didn't feel any desire to kill. The head of the second squad clarified. How could I feel something like that towards you? She continued. Because as soon as you feel it, you will immediately tie me up and kill me, Devilania said. What Harut was most afraid of was running into her, because she was fucking annoying. She showed him her gifts and asked if he would accept them all, but she did it in a threatening manner. The first was a suit that resembled the Demon King in design. Another gift was also an outfit. The third was the clothing of people from southern countries. She enjoyed dressing up Harut. Then the commander of the 8th squad, Hell, entered the room. Finally saved, he thought. Hell just came by to say hello. His sword served as a barrier. Because of them, he couldn't enter the doorway. The deputy commander of the 8th detachment appeared, indignant at the current situation. Hell had a lot of weapons, which he didn't even really know how to use. Devilania said she would continue another time. Ah yes, the commander of the 8th detachment, she said. It turned out that in the first city some bastard was speaking badly about Aruta. Are you sure you should be here now? She asked. A moment later, Sir Hell was gone. Ms. Devilania, stop tormenting him, the deputy commander of the 8th squad begged. This whole situation irritated Arut. He wanted them to get out of his room. Hell was originally supposed to watch over the cities, but he received a secret mission as soon as the commander of the Zero joined the demon army. He had to make sure that information about Aruta's health condition did not reach the human kingdom. When the castle servants start gossiping about his appearance, when his face was revealed by common demons during the first mission in the first city, and even during the fight with the hero on the border, Hell sought out all the witnesses and shut them up. It's no wonder I never knew about the commander of the Zero detachment. Sir Hell, you are back so quickly, asked Nine. Yes, I corrected my mistake. Now he had the right to greet Arut. Of course, I'm sure he's waiting for you, Nine said. Meanwhile, Harut was solving a Rubik's Cube. Something caught his attention. Hell tried to enter the room quietly. Are you okay? Maybe I should call a doctor, he asked. Ben was already there. He felt the signal and immediately came running. Hell felt like if this happened because of him, he would pay with his life. How could Sir Arut be kind to trash like him? The commander of the 8th wondered. You have done your duty and you need to rest, the blonde man said. Ben, go away, I want to be alone, said the head of the Zero. Hell admired Harut's behavior. He was finally left alone. Finally, the realization came that he had returned to the demon world. It was worth continuing to perform the duties of the emperor. It was worth starting with stealing information. The librarian noticed the young man. Then she looked away. Realizing that she was not acting according to the regulations, she became scared, and she shouted throughout the library, "Welcome." The other workers also began to bow. He was not at all used to this kind of attitude. Suddenly, one book caught his attention. Empire Analysis Report. It contained information about current heroes. The first was Nemesius, who actively helped the emperor and became the only aristocrat without a surname. The second, Stigma, received a new surname and the title of Marquis, focused on fighting the barbarians on the southern borders, and possesses incredible physical strength. Stop, the young man thought. Do they really have information about me too? There was, but no photo. By order of the king, the investigation was banned. The young man saw the fourth hero, Cruel Heart, a blood relative of the third hero. After that, Arut slammed the book. As if I want to know anything about this bastard, he thought. Then I found a book written by Kaber, the Demon King. A warrior, a chosen individual who was given the power to destroy the Demon King. Their talent, strength, intelligence, and other characteristics are superior to other people. Warrior fragments are absorbed without any reason, and then become creatures known as heroes. This information was already known to him. Then he saw something new. There was something written there about the Demon King. But then a black-haired man appeared, which greatly frightened the young man. I noticed that Arut dropped the book. The blonde reached for her. The existence of the warrior and the Demon King proves this. The immaturity of this world. These words touched the young man. He wondered what this meant. Then, turning to the head of the castle, he asked what he was doing here. At this, the king smiled kindly. I should have taken a book, the black-haired man said. Arut didn't understand why they were looking at him like that. Sorry for taking the book you are reading, the king apologized. Go on with your business, he said as he left. A disappointed Arut followed him out of the library. It seemed to him that the chief realized that the young man was a spy. At this time, the demons were gossiping about the commander of the 5th detachment. As it turned out, she was busy examining the junk she found outside. This girl's name was OL. The demons wanted to throw a party to celebrate the fact that Mrs. OL and her deputy Durnovan were dating. They looked good together. Then they noticed the head of Squad 0. Wow, so demons can date each other, Dion thought. They thought that since they were caught gossiping, they would be punished. The blonde looked at them with his cold gaze. The girls immediately began to ask for forgiveness. While they were panicking, they didn't notice how he disappeared. Arutu didn't care about this at all, but he was ready to go to the festival, because they pour wine there. When I entered the room, I saw a pile of garbage. Could it really be that it's all over already, he thought. And it wasn't even the same wine. Apparently, Oella brought him here because she was interested in the human kingdom. Suddenly, the cleaning demons appeared at the door and were taken aback when they saw Arut. Their fright made the blonde man afraid. Ah, commander of the 0 detachment, said one of them. Did you drink all of this? One of the guys asked him. What? They're making fun of me? I haven't even touched a drop, thought the blonde. Then they raised the alarm. Arut tried to stop them, but it was to no avail. Alarm, the commander of the 0 detachment is drunk, they continued. The commander of the 0 detachment drank too much alcohol. It could be heard throughout the castle. And the commander of the 1st squad, Jakar, heard. And those close to Arut, Ed and Ben. The black-haired man was walking down the corridor at this time. What, Arut, did you get drunk too quickly? He said. A crowd of people had already gathered in the dining room where the young man was. In a moment, they surrounded him, armed with shields. What the hell, thought the frightened blonde. Your mother? I told you that I didn't drink, said the young man. It had been a long time since he had felt such an atmosphere. Everyone in this place was against him drinking. Talking about this topic with the king, Arut did not understand why this was so. Even though he was going crazy after drinking, what they did to him was too much. One of the demons, looking at the blonde, hoped that everything would end well, and not like that day. 2 years ago, during a holiday party for the commander of Squad 0. You, enemy, the young man asked, threatening the demon with a dagger. After that day, everyone recognized him. Yes, I am an enemy, said the demon, tired of Aruta's stupidity. He added that he never liked the fact that the king gave the position to a blonde man. Why is the commander of the 0 higher than the 1st? Let's see if you are worthy of your position. The demon did not calm down. After these words, Arut plunged his dagger into the bastard's chest. It all happened so quickly that he didn't even notice. You are definitely an enemy, the blonde said contemptuously. Thus, one of the commanders was stabbed to death in the blink of an eye. From that day on, new rules came into effect in the castle. If Arut asks if you are an enemy, answer immediately no. Second, if he begins to recognize the reasons, give a clear explanation for them. Third, if Harut begins to suspect the answer, immediately take a defensive position. One demon asked another if they should start attacking. If they wound the 0 squad leader, the Demon King will finish them off. He was speaking too loudly, and his comrade shut his mouth in case Arut heard. Their task was to hold out as long as possible. They caught the blonde's gaze. The mere sight of him made them feel uneasy. What's wrong with them? I smiled as innocently as possible, thought Arut. The Demon King has appeared. Luckily he was nearby. He asked the young man if he could hear him. I heard it, but I didn't know what to say. I guess he's only in the first stage, so he's calm, thought the black-haired man. All those present were not his enemies, and they had no reason to attack either. After this, Arut put the bottle on the floor. I have no intention of fighting either, he said. Sir Ruth, you just used polite speech, Ben stated. Why were they so surprised I always talk like this, thought the blonde. Aruta, are you really drunk? Asked the head of the demons. No, I just looked at the bottles, since they are from the human kingdom, the blonde said. Are you that bored here? Asked the black-haired man. Then scratching his head, I should have guessed when you visited the library, he said. In that case, would you like to visit the second city with Devilania? The black-haired man asked. The young man didn't understand anything, and asked to repeat it. Since the war is about to start, it would be better for him to go. Damn, why did everything go this way, the blonde thought. Ed and Ben, as usual, tried to help him. Suddenly, the black-haired man called out to the doctor. I asked him to come see me before leaving. Then, having come into a huge hall, the king began to study something. The kingdom of Ilion surrenders. The empire is victorious. He intended to make his move when the empire had captured at least half of the continent, but there wasn't much time. Then, having created magic, he was going to inform the entire demon kingdom. From that moment on, everyone was forbidden to use magic. Situations involving a threat to life were considered an exception. Commanders of the 2nd and 4th, and also the 8th detachment, they needed to make sure that those who used magic without good reason were punished. They could even be killed. The 2nd head hearing this smiled, and the commander of the 4th said that now he would have a lot to do. Hell was glad to receive a task from the king, for he trusted him. Normally, the black-haired man wouldn't pay attention to the warrior's appearance, but things are completely different when they are at war. The best they can do now is to delay its appearance. Ben and Ed again couldn't decide which of them was helping the blonde more. Although it is unclear whether the world will unite, how can someone predict and stop a typhoon? In an instant, the use of magic throughout the demon realm ceased. It's too late. I doubt the king knows about the imminent approach of the day of the warrior's appearance, said the head of the elves. The world has already completed its preparations, it is only waiting for the right moment. The moment when the world sends a warrior. This will be the worst time for the demon king. And at the very end he waits only for the right moment. Your Majesty, there are problems with continuing the war. With this statement they came to desert. What's the matter? He asked. Looking at the man in surprise, Margrave Amable said, You took over the surrendered countries and left the nobles alone, which you didn't do during the 8 Years' War, the man said. But the aristocrats of these countries are still alive. Their spirit will not be broken. After all, the warriors obtained during the war will not be loyal to the emperor. If they continue the war, they will experience a personnel shortage at the front. For the sake of the inhabitants of the empire, stop, the man begged. He was finished, but he had to say it. Eduardo wasn't angry, he was thinking. Good God, Muragraf, what are you saying? Said the nobleman. They can get more people by mobilizing the common people. After they started arguing, Desert slammed his fist on the table. I didn't know about your talents, you bark well, he said. You say we can send ordinary people there, he continued, getting angrier and angrier. They do not dare to offer personal soldiers. They do not offer to lead the troops themselves. But they are ready to send ordinary people without hesitation. Do you know why they pay taxes? Eduardo asked. This is their price for safety and well-being. The citizens have the right to defend the empire, and the empire has the obligation to defend the citizens. Let's be clear, said Desert, taking the sword by the hilt. I will not stop the war if there are not enough soldiers. I will order you to participate in the fighting, he said. The standard is the same as during the 8 Years' War. If they decide not to participate, they will send 2/3 of their troops. Mobilization of citizens will be a last resort. If you didn't understand, I'll rephrase prepare for war, Desert barked. He understood that he had no right to be angry with them because he himself had placed the war on their shoulders. But since their emperor is not himself, shouldn't his subordinates at least remain sensible? Disgusting, both they and I, thought Desert. Then he saw a sea of blood beneath him. His hallucinations became more severe and previously did not affect his daily life. Then he heard someone laughing nearby. The ghosts of the people he killed laughed and scolded Eduardo. Come with us, they said. It wasn't that he planned to live out his entire life, but there was no need to rush. In the southern part of the empire, battles with barbarians are constantly taking place. With the emperor's silent permission for the massacre, the second hero, Stigma, fights here. In his free time he studied the news. The empire announced its next target, the kingdom of Sarahan. His growing troops were forced to fight the barbarians and diseases of the harsh south. It's not that he liked wars. The emperor rewards for significant services, and Stigma wanted to ask him something. During the 8 Year War, the hero received the title of Marquis and a large estate in the south, as well as a substantial amount of gold and jewelry, and he was satisfied with this until he learned what Dion had asked the emperor for. It was as if a bolt of lightning struck him. How could anyone ask for something like that? In theory, the blonde was supposed to join the battle later, so Stigma looked forward to their meeting. He then gave the order to burn the rest. Like that bastard, the second one will ask the Emperor to get rid of his family. I thought we would be alone here, Sir Aruth, said Devilania. These are the orders of the Demon King, Ben said. And even if he hadn't come, they still wouldn't have been alone, considering how many troops from the second detachment were here. However, they will only interfere with Sir Arut. The blonde didn't understand why the king was so worried about this place, since they even took a different route here. Come to think of it, Ed checked his armor before leaving and Ririnel gave him the pendant. It was as if he was being prepared for an emergency. The cart stopped abruptly. Anything but that, thought the young man. Sir Aruth, Lady Devilania, there is an emergency, the demon stated. They were surrounded by a large number of demonic monsters. The second detachment fought with dignity, but the number of monsters was superior. The young man understood that he couldn't stand there and that it was time to do something. They're falling out everywhere, Devilania thought. How disgusting. The blonde didn't understand why they were so calm, as if they were waiting for the monsters to appear. It was then that he understood why he was being asked to take a walk along the outskirts. Demonic monsters are the responsibility of the Demon King. He must keep their numbers under control, so that they do not encroach on the territories of other species. Ordering his subordinates to take a walk along the outskirts, forced to cross the boundaries of other species' territories. Save your strength, I'll go first, Devilania said. While the young man was thinking about how to deal with so many demons, someone called out to him. Surely Ben must have said something, because the boy was vomiting blood again. Yes, responded the commander of the Zero detachment. Are you in no condition to fight today? Asked the doctor. Oh shit, did I really avoid a fight that obviously? The young man thought. Come to think of it, Ben began. Arut always tries to avoid battle, when he is not drunk, or his life is not in danger. If an ordinary demon had seen this, he would have considered the young man weak. They found out about him and he started making excuses. I know there are countless of them, but they are just demonic beasts, Ben screamed. So insignificant that I'm too lazy to deal with it myself. That's what you thought, the doctor claimed. Arut looked at the doctor in bewilderment. What an idiot. How could he come to such a conclusion? Don't worry. I've prepared something especially for you, Ben said. Special wine of the Demon Kingdom. It is suspicious that he offered alcohol after having prohibited it for a long time. After this, Arut completely stopped understanding the doctor. All you need now is to relax, so don't worry, drink, Ben kept saying. The young man had no choice but to obey. He didn't need to be asked twice. Judging by the situation, a battle was unavoidable, and if you were going to die, why not have a drink? Ben watched the blonde man closely as he enjoyed his drink. Forgive me, thought the doctor. Ben, if Arut hesitates during the battle, give him a drink. Such were the words of the king. The young man is too modest when sober and seems weak. As soon as he drinks, he immediately becomes more relaxed. Despite his enjoyment of battle, Sir Harut is too patient when he is sober. Wouldn't it be better to give him some release before he goes crazy? The king, the ruler, uses everything with maximum efficiency. It would be better to apologize right now, the doctor thought. But before he could do anything, Arut hit him. This time you used your head, the blonde said. Alcohol and drugs are a kind of key. It is only natural that the wall that is built will be weakened by this combination. I don't think I have much time, asked Arut, because the Emperor advances faster and bolder, and the number of demonic monsters is growing exponentially. It wasn't that he didn't understand the urgency, but the fact that the doctor was close to the young man did not give him the right to use Aruta. It clearly wasn't just the alcohol, Ben thought. Since you have done a lot for me, I forgive you this time. You are only pretending to care about me, the blonde said. Remember what your personal physician is now, he added. Although initially he had no expectations. Ben, you are such a fool. Sir Harut is absolutely right, the doctor thought. Now he is the personal physician of the commander of the Zero Squad, and not the Demon King. Noticing the enemy, Ben shouted to warn the young man. But he was unwavering. Such a huge beast was no obstacle for him. I closed my eyes and thought that I was so tired, trying my best to survive, but that didn't mean he would allow anyone to use him. If anything happens, he will use it himself. In a moment, the beast was defeated. Taking a deep breath, he turned to Ben. I asked him to contact the king via video call, but he forbade the use of magic outside the walls, the doctor screamed. It doesn't matter. I'll contact him right now. He resigned himself. Ben, what happened? You wouldn't just use magic like that, the black-haired man wondered. There are many more of them than we expected, Arut said. The king thought that 2 commanders in one group would be enough. Reinforcements will be sent in 15 minutes. Okay, we'll try to hold out for a quarter of an hour, the young man said. Arut must be beside himself with anger, Ben thought. He hadn't been in a situation like this for a long time. But if he gave up at the first sign of despair, he would not have survived the 8-year war. A huge monster appeared in front of the young man. The only difference is that his opponents are demonic monsters. All that was left was to think about it. How to survive in the current situation. The ogre managed to wound the commander of the Zero Squad. Ben noticed this and took out a bag with drugs. The young man managed to intercept the dagger in the air. After this, he managed to deal with the huge ogre by plunging his blade into it. His specialty was not killing but instilling fear. Demonic monsters remain true to their instincts, so they retreat when they are overcome with fear. Although it may not work on them, after defeating a large enemy, he began to destroy the weaker ones. The goal now is not to force them to retreat. "Devilania," said the commander of the Zero Squad. "They needed to set a trap. As soon as they move, they will lose their limbs. These bastards probably have no idea what's going on here. A ton of invisible threads await the demonic monsters. I managed to lure them, but it won't hold them for long," Devilania said. "They managed to lure the monsters into nets that restricted their movements." Ben looked at Arit with interest, wondering what he would come up with next. "Sir, be careful. The treatment I have provided is only a temporary measure," the doctor said. The blonde just looked at the doctor in bewilderment. "Are you going to go to the trap to destroy them yourself?" asked the head of the second. "Without proper skill, it will be difficult to detect the threads." "I have no doubt in your abilities," the girl continued. "I'll figure it all out myself," said the distraught blonde. In a moment, he found himself among the opponents. The goblin was killed first. Then several more enemies appeared in front of him. Dealing with them was as easy as pie. Finding invisible threads didn't seem like a difficult task for Arut. Watching this, Devilania was amazed by his abilities. Arut's face looked completely mad in the heat of battle. "I see them," thought the commander of the Zero Detachment. The moment when the moonlight reflects off the threads, creating a slight shimmer. He didn't know if it was because he had been hiding from light and warmth all his life. But he was always sensitive to light and was comfortable in the dark. "I guess it's all down to my luck," he asked. The demonic creatures began to fear him. They were too frightened to continue the attack, but their numbers were still astonishing. Arut is at his limit and his arm is injured, Ben thought. The commander of the Zero Detachment could barely stand on his feet. "Sir Arut, stop," came from behind him. "I have to heal you," said a frightened Ben. "Don't bother yourself with pathetic attempts and act according to the plan," the blonde answered him. It seemed like he would fall at any moment. Shock was building within him, and his right arm refused to move. Ben tried to help him by fighting with his bag. At some point in the battle, he looked at the commander. It seemed that the blonde no longer had the strength to fight, but he wanted to hold out at least a little longer. Suddenly a sword flew into the ogre's face, and all the opponents who stood before Arut were defeated. "Greetings," came from behind him. "It's been a while," said Silwa, the commander of the 7th Squad. "She said that she ran here as fast as she could because there was a party here." "What party? I'm about to die," thought Arut. His arm began to hurt seriously. Looking around, I didn't understand what had happened here. He remembered that he drank the wine that Ben gave him. "No, it's not Sir Harut," the girl thought. Just a moment ago, he was in front of her. Then she showed him the demonic monster. "Please grant him eternal rest," Silwa said. "What's wrong with her?" thought the blonde. "What's wrong? Are you scared?" the girl continued to mock. "Don't worry, Sir Arut. My subordinates will grind everyone into dust," declared another squad leader. "Just think, this is the reinforcement they sent us," Devilania said. "Can't we be called good fighters?" the head of the 7th asked. "Well, we've sorted out almost everything," she added. "Sir Arut, you can't overexert yourself in your condition," Ben intervened. He told him to rest while they dealt with everyone. "I understand that you were disappointed in me earlier, but please give me a chance," the doctor said. But the blonde didn't remember that dialogue. "Apart from the escapees, we've dealt with almost everyone," Devilania stated. The treatment was complete, and Arut could now use his hand again. It was time to leave, the head of the 2nd Squad announced. It was for the common good that it was necessary to head to the city. That place was guarded by the head of the 10th Detachment. Silwas couldn't stand him because she thought he wasn't worthy of his position. "That's why I decided to leave." "So it's about Gaisatel," thought the young man. Why did she hate him so much? Arriving in the city, it seems that he understood. There they were met by demons who immediately began to sound their trumpets. Aruda was seated on a wooden throne and they began to carry him. He felt uneasy about it. The enforcer prepared everything in a hurry. As soon as he learned that the blonde man would arrive here, only people of high status could ride on a palanquin. "Does your head hurt? Or maybe something is bothering you?" the commander continued. Yes, this whole situation, but he couldn't say anything about it. In such a short period of time, he was able to understand why Silwa hated him so much. "If you tell me what is bothering you," Gaisatel continued. Ben intervened, thinking that the blonde had a headache. The demons, standing on the sidelines, watched this clownery. "So this is the commander of the Zero Detachment," they whispered. And they all wondered who would be transported in this way. There was a strange aura about him, one that demons do not possess, but which is stronger than that of a human. Even other commanders found it difficult to please him. Everyone gathered to see the mysterious commander of the Zero Squad, a man whom the king himself had bestowed with such a powerful title, whose presence was accepted by proud squad leaders, and whose role was shrouded in mystery. For everyone, he was second in power only to the king. "I'm sorry, did you say something?" Gaisatel clarified. "Get away," said the commander of the Zero Detachment. "Get out of here, he doesn't want to see you," the commander shouted. "No, bastard. All these flowers and their pollen make me sick, so I want you to remove them," thought Arut. All that was left was to watch as the stupid henchmen of the even stupider squad leader dispersed crowds of ordinary demons. Now, because of him, everyone in the city will consider the blonde an enemy. The onlookers finally wanted to see the face of the commander of the Zero Detachment. It was too late to hope for rest in this settlement. Then something caught the young man's attention. Local fans were about to start praying for him. "Long live Sir Harut," came the cry from the square. If they want to believe in something so meaningless, they might as well believe in it. He remembered discussing something similar with Ririnel. Stop, this can't be, thought the young man. Could this really have been Ririnel's doing? He gave her cookies so that she wouldn't talk nonsense. Damn, you can go crazy like that. Gaisatel approached and hastened to apologize to the young man if he had upset him in any way. The fishing line was around her neck, the blonde man noticed. "It seems he has disturbed you, Sir Aruth," said Devalania. "Should I kill him?" she asked. He was sure that murders among commanders were unacceptable. "Everything is fine," said the commander of the Zero Detachment. "There is no need to kill other commanders." Then he suggested going shopping, since that's what they came here for. "As you say, Sir Aruth," said Devalania. The head of the 10th shouted that he would serve the blonde with all his heart, as if his life depended on it. The young man was sure that he had protection, but he had never been so wrong. It was necessary to remain on guard. "I bought so many outfits here," said a joyful Devalania. Arit served as a doll for dressing up. Suddenly, Gaisatel appeared and tried to treat the commander of the Zero Squad to some fruit. Devalania tried to drive him away in a rude manner. They just couldn't leave the young man alone. "Sir Arit, is something wrong with you?" Ben asked. "The demonic monsters should be mostly in the bay. It's strange that the castle gates were so wide open. Come to think of it, there are a lot of goods from the southern region of the human kingdom here. Could the border really be close?" The young man clarified. "How did you find out?" Gaisatel was taken aback. "Ah," the head of the Zero Squad asked in surprise. "They got out of the city and destroyed a small number of monsters." "Phew, they're wild here too," said Devalania. "Look, we have opened the border near the southern regions of the human kingdom," said the commander of the 10th Detachment. An incredible picture opened up before the boys. "How could you hide this?" Ben screamed. Arut covered his face with his hand, wanting to protect himself from Gaisatel's stupidity. In his defense, he said that they moved in secret from everyone, so as not to reveal themselves to people. Arit thought he could breathe a sigh of relief, but what next? If the southern regions of the kingdom were not part of the empire, was it worth worrying about at all? It was worth it, because this is the human world. The commander of the Zero Squad said that he would convey this news to the Demon King. But before that, it was necessary to see for yourself. It was necessary to check whether this place was really connected to the southern region of people, and if so, to check which country the lands belonged to. On the other side of the small country in the south, they were already screaming loudly that demons covered in blood had crossed the border. "Madness," said the head of this state. He refused the offer to call a doctor, as he believed that he would not help. The leader knew that demons were crossing the border, but he always turned a blind eye to it. But the Empire was attacking, so he didn't need problems with demons. "There is one more big problem, Your Majesty," said the subject. It was stated that one of the demons, the commander of the Zero Squad, Devalania, and also the infamous commander of the Zero Squad. The old man's blood ran cold when he imagined it. He didn't understand what such a strong warrior was doing here. "Hide this information," he ordered. Whatever they did in the human world, it was necessary to hide the fact that the two squad leaders were present in the human world. Ben asked the blonde to check if he was well wrapped up from the sun. "It's really hot though," the young man thought. He wanted to visit the human world alone. It would be better if the others stayed with Gaisatel. Suddenly, a warrior from the human world appeared in front of the boys. "I'm sorry we blocked your way," one of them said. They came to pay their respects to the mercenaries who prevented the monsters from crossing the border. Thanks to the boys, they managed to save many lives, and as representatives of the knights, they expressed their gratitude. "As a gesture of respect, please accept this small gift of gold," the warrior said. The demons and Arit hastened to accept the gift. "Damn, I was so lost in my thoughts that I completely forgot about their appearance," the young man thought. Suddenly he caught himself thinking. Anyone would say that Ben and Devalania aren't human because they aren't in robes, so why don't they chase them away? Arit looked at the gold. They are scared, but not surprised. Apparently we've already crossed paths with demons. Apparently in this country they knew about the border between worlds. It is true that in wartime, disclosing such information about the state acquiring new borders is fraught with consequences, so they try their best to hide it. If they chose to ignore them, it's a huge relief. Most likely they hope that the guys will return home without any unnecessary noise, but there was no reason to worry. He wouldn't have caused any problems. The warriors bowed their heads. Incredibly clean clothes compared to his companions, thought the member of state. And also the unusual aura. Most likely it was the commander of the Zero Squad, he continued. "My ruler, we have done all we could," they said when they returned. Meanwhile, the guys came to the city. "There are so many people here," the young man thought. It was quite fun to look around, but it was necessary to gather information about this place. Suddenly someone pushed Arut. "Sir, are you all right?" asked the man who pushed him. Was he really uneasy about the collision? Devilania wondered. He felt her suspicious gaze on him. What are you doing, you stupid man? Ben intervened. Damn, he's really overdoing it, thought Arut. The second chapter stood there, taken aback, as that's how she usually reacts, while Ben tried in every possible way to cheer up the blonde. Devilania wanted to deal with the man. A crowd of onlookers was attracted by this event. Catch this bastard, the guards screamed. They looked like royal knights. Now all the attention would be drawn to them. But what he saw shocked him. The warriors grabbed a man by the scruff of the neck, not demons. This greatly surprised Arut. He began to be indignant about why they had grabbed him. After that, he was taken away. Wow, the human world obeys laws so well, the young man thought. But even after this, someone wanted to steal the purse of coins from the guys. Ben managed to intercept the little thief's hand. Wait, shouted the guard. We'll sort it all out, he added, taking the child with him. Having tasted the mango, he didn't like it. For this, they were going to arrest the seller. As soon as they didn't like something, the guards immediately arrested the violators. He thought they were trying to figure it out before the boys made a scene and attracted the townspeople's attention. Because of this, the demons with Arut attracted even more attention. Suddenly, something caught his attention. Two merchants were discussing the sale of Deus leaves. Merchant Den, then, said one of them. Then Arut approached him. What is it? Asked the frightened merchant. The young man stated that he would like to purchase these leaves. He looks like a traveler. But where does such a frightening aura come from? The seller wondered. Perhaps this is a nobleman hiding his identity. Dusa tea leaves are almost impossible to find in the Empire. For the same reason, their price is very high. That's right, that same small country that exports tea. The conversation was about the country of Tai Hong. The guards were glad that the demons left without causing trouble. They only hoped that they would never return here again. The events moved to the Empire's camp in the war zone. The Duke traveled a long way for an audience with the Emperor. He wanted to ask if Eduardo remembered the death of the first prince. Everyone left the tent by order of the Emperor. The death of a kind-hearted man and the only one who looked after dessert. The best man of all, Eddie. They said that he died at the hands of Duke Gratis, but no one knew how he actually died. Oh my god, you already know, Illustrator smiled. Ha, this is just crazy, said Eduardo. After Gratis and his family were executed, the Emperor learned that Illustra Strabier was behind it. But due to the uprising of the nobility, the crime had to be ignored for a while. Who would have thought that he would confess? First, I got rid of the first prince. It was all for the sake of climbing to a high position, Illustrator said. He planned to put someone who could be controlled on the throne. But he could not imagine that the ruler would be an insignificant ninth prince. Having taken the place of the Duke, there was only one man higher, the Emperor. The Illustrator was like this from birth. I'll be back, Eduardo, his family member said. Look after Elpidius and Alethea, asked the first prince of the future emperor. He agreed, but didn't show it. He should have held him back when he first felt that something was wrong. The first prince kindly patted his relative on the head. If only he knew that this would be his end. He would never have let him go the first time he heard about his brother's death. He should have conducted a thorough investigation instead of rushing in with a sword in his hand. But rumors spread that his other relatives had killed him in order to seize the throne, forced him to draw his blade. And now, carrying the burden of responsibility on his shoulders, he was very tired. The assassination of the first prince, the creation of the Church of the Redemption, and Dion's participation in the 8-Year War. You already know that I am behind this, said Illustrator. There is a terrible mistake here. We have already reported that our first son, Cruel, will go to war and even sent a request for correction, the mother screamed. I repeat, we can't do anything, the army member said. My poor boy, he is so weak, the mother screamed. She couldn't even hug him because she was afraid she would get sick. Let us speak to the Emperor, father intervened. But Eduardo was not in the palace now. Then he asked to pass on a message. The Duke, looking at them, smiled. Burn it, he ordered, getting into the carriage. Request for correction from the Hart family. Yes, I forged the document so you didn't know that Dion was drafted by mistake. But having found out the truth after the war, they stood by, watching as he killed his family. I wonder how he will react when he finds out. After hearing this, the Emperor's face tensed. Duke Illustre, do you really want to die so much? Asked Eduardo. You cannot do this, your majesty, the sly man declared. If the Emperor does this, his reputation will be further tarnished. Then the authority of the ruling family. And her heirs will also hit rock bottom. I'm sure you don't want that, Strabe said. He added that all this time the Emperor pretended to be ignorant. So that makes him an accomplice. I see you just give me a reason to chatter incessantly, said the Emperor. I look forward to the day when I can execute you with my own hands. The Emperor lives only because he cannot die. Illustrator Strabe, now I will not find peace, thought Dessert. Until I reward you with the most miserable death, he continued. He won't die until he kills me, the Duke noted. That's why Strabe came here. And he gained influence over the revolutionary army. Everything went according to his plan. After this dialogue, the Emperor galloped off somewhere. The branches in the forest through which Dessert ran began to crack. The horses were seriously scared. Dessert noticed the appearance of warriors. Therefore, he stopped the racing horse with force. I just wanted to cool my head, he thought. But it's incredibly annoying when you're being followed by all sorts of midges, Eduardo continued. It was a revolutionary army. Have you come to see me? He asked. The leader of the revolutionary army, Daniel, returned home. Welcome back. I heard you'll be back after this mission, she said. It looks like you've been hurt, she said. The wound was not serious, so there was no need to worry. She won't say anything about what her son does or where he goes, for she trusted her son. For a world where everyone is equal, without social hierarchy, one man gathered everyone to kill the emperor. And it was he who declared that it was necessary to remove the throne and create a world that was fair for everyone, all for the sake of his mother. She was a noble woman who eloped with a commoner, even living an ordinary married life. And even when his father died at the hands of a terrible nobleman, after she became weakened from the stress she had received, she always talked about her dream. And Daniel remembered all these stories. Looking at how his mother was weakening, he swore to himself, what will make her wish come true? Telling her everything she knew, she asked, do you really want to stop fighting? No, for the sake of my comrades and you, I will do this, declared the head of the army. I believe in you, the woman said, asking him to return safe and sound. She added that if he gets hurt, then the mother will drink poison in order to follow her son. Mom, don't say that! Daniel screamed. The chief trouble. Aiden led the troops to kill the emperor, the subject declared. What Daniel heard shocked him. Have you come to see me? The emperor asked again. But it seems they weren't the only ones who came to kill him. The warriors did not understand what desert meant. Do you know how I got the throne? He asked. They don't seem to know one of the main leaders of the 8-year war. Then Eduardo reached for his sword. Who won the battle? He shouted. What he saw amazed the soldier of the revolutionary army. Blood flew in all directions. Eduardo plunged the dagger into his hand. What the hell? Exclaimed the soldier. Don't worry, I was just chasing away the spirits that were bothering me, Desert said. This is much better. Now let's continue, said Eduardo, asking the soldiers if they knew the unknown hero who possessed the fragment. The revolutionary army had no reason to listen to this nonsense any longer. Attack, one of them said, and was immediately destroyed. Then Eduardo got rid of another one, and he asked them if they had heard the phrase, don't forget the past. Die Emperor, the girl pounced on him with these words. That's why forgetful people tend to repeat their mistakes, Desert said, if they remembered him when he committed treason, or during the 8 Years' War, or at least find out what he was doing during the military operations. They wouldn't dare attack him, especially in such a mediocre manner. The way he wields his long sword with one hand, its possession is as fierce as the spirit. Gotcha, said the warrior, grabbing Desert by the cloak. Why would anyone fight in such a maddening place? But he didn't have time to finish. How Eduardo pierced him with his sword. The great power he possesses is enough to cut through mountains and even the heavens. One of the warriors did not dare to attack. Now he remembered what Desert had said. Talent hidden behind the title of Emperor and Tyrant. You don't take me seriously, Eduardo said. I recognize this uniform and emblem, he added. If I remember correctly, your boss isn't that stupid? He went AWOL, asked Desert. In that case, I don't think I need to worry about the Revolutionary Army, he added, waving his blade. The name that stood above all others, the holder of the hero fragment, Eduardo Desert. Having dealt with all the warriors, the Emperor approached the horse, and he carefully bandaged his hand. Afterwards, for a moment, he thought about something. The Duke probably sent them after him, but he must have known that they didn't pose much of a threat, meaning that he was using the revolutionaries to overthrow him, while not wanting him to die at their hands. Their goal is a world where all people are equal. But the Duke only wants a higher position, so it was important for him to disrupt their revolution. At the same time, they received new recruits from the kingdom of Ilion. Is Illister trying to control the growth of their forces by attacking me? The Emperor thought. 1/9 of the revolutionary army had fallen, reported Soldier Paul. The chief praised him for doing a good job of collecting information. Aiden had doubts about postponing the fulfillment of the great goal, but he would not act so rashly. Since the Emperor had gone to the battlefield, it had become more difficult to track his route, so Paul wondered how Aiden had managed to find him. It began to dawn on Daniel. A person who has sufficient information. If you think about it, before Aiden left, the leader reasoned, someone noticed him talking to Shaylin. Could it be that they both planned to pit the revolutionary army and the Emperor against each other? Meanwhile, morning had already arrived. The Emperor's subject could not believe that he had arrived alone. Before dawn they ambushed you, he asked. If I died from this, then it was fate, said Desert. Your Majesty, how can you say that? The subject cried out. Couldn't the clerk really tell the difference between a joke and the truth? Desert asked. Do you remember? Asked the Emperor. One of his sisters announced that she wanted to make this country rich, and the other brother wanted to turn the kingdom into a country that no one would dare look down on, by creating an empire. They wanted to do so much to achieve this goal. They could even spend the whole day just discussing plans. But because of Eduardo's actions, nobody was able to fulfill their dream. Therefore, it was his responsibility to fulfill their wishes. He could not deviate from the chosen path, and therefore must bear a huge burden. I can't even imagine such a useless death for myself when my life is scheduled by the hour, Eduardo said. The clerk noticed that the wound on his left hand was still bleeding most likely. The emperor was refreshing the wound from time to time. The man who must be the core of the empire seemed so vulnerable. What he heard shocked the chancellor. The emperor hoped that he would not insist on wasting precious military resources on restoring a piece of meat. Don't worry, I intend to shine until the very end, said Dessert. And thanks to someone, he doesn't even think about dying anytime soon. The new demon, acting commander of the 9th Division. His name was Trover. He caused an earthquake. He claims that magic is his specialty. Actually uses his extremely trained body. It was just a blunt downward blow, his opponent said. He managed to deal a serious blow to Trover. Azild and Jair watched this fight. The commander of the 2nd squad, Devilania, was also there. The young man didn't understand why he was shouting spells if he wasn't even using magic. How did it happen that he is sitting here and watching? Immediately upon arriving at the castle, Trover asked for a sparring match. But the blonde was able to refuse, citing fatigue. Then he became a judge. Suddenly, Trover's rival became distracted by his woman. Durnovan, dedicate your victory to me, the head of the 5th squad, Oella asked him. Of course, said the deputy commander. Damn it, let's get going already, Trover yelled. Arut didn't know what to say during sparring. Try, do your best. It sounded strange. Don't kill each other. That was already better. The atmosphere changed. The young man noticed it. He said something wrong. Why did they react like that? He thought this phrase would do. Suddenly someone addressed him. Myers, commander of the 12th detachment. You wanted something from me, Arut clarified. Well, that's it, the shy commander began. Deputy Dahar will say it for me, Myers said. It was clear from the boy's face that he was very scared. Perhaps even stronger than the commander. Please allow me to convey a message to you, Dahar said. First of all, it was so cool when they said, don't kill each other, the deputy said. None of the commanders were ever so cold-blooded again. That's it, the boy said, standing in a normal position. Arut was speechless from the absurdity of the situation. Thanks to the blonde, it became more interesting, Azild said. Since Durnovan had previously received an offer to take over as the commander of the 9th squad, they should be on the same level. I heard that the number of refusals for the position of commander of the 9th was unusually high this time, Devilania said. Upon hearing about Ed, Arut was shocked that he agreed to remain as his deputy. Then Durnovan, now this position has been given to Trover. Blindness, the thug shouted. Oella intervened, saying that her boyfriend could not bear to be separated from her and had resigned from the position. How she managed to end up here, Arut wondered. She asked the blonde man. They say that with a certain probability it is possible to create a child if two people love each other. I guess she wants a child, but he didn't think demons were capable of such a thing. I've heard that children like this are called a blessing, well said. Arut turned his gaze to the arena. Meteor, shouted Trover. A huge piece of rock flew towards Oela's deputy, but he remained steadfast. I would like to receive a blessing from Durnovan, she said. Sir Aruth, Ririnel addressed him, seeing how he clenched his fists. Once a child is considered a blessing. Then I, thought the young man. While the two continued to fight, Oella asked why Arut looked so unhappy, to which Azild shut her mouth. Ririnel couldn't understand what had come over him. Then, trying to distract him from his thoughts, she asked if Arut knew that Trover had used magic before. Since his mana is depleted, he now fights with his fists. Mana used for magic cannot be replenished, but he put fun above all else and used all his magic. But there was a way to replenish it, thanks to the power of the Demon King that is in their bodies. For they are all his children. Their physical bodies are created by his power. It can be said that this is the purest and most powerful mana. Arut was puzzled how Trover could have squandered it so senselessly. In a word, a madman. Damn, the floor is slippery, the wolf is hunched over, the fighter screamed. Now will you stop? Asked Durnovan. Don't think I'm giving up, lethal move, shouted Trover. Earthquake, blindness, physical enhancement. What a dust there was, thought Arut. One of the pieces froze in the air. Damn, it's too late to dodge, he thought. Then Ed appeared in front of him. He didn't understand how the advisor managed to push aside the cobblestone with such ease. Then, becoming overly nervous, he began to cough up blood. Because of this, they stopped fighting. Ed hastened to apologize to his commander. Ririnel and Ed looked at the fighters with hatred. Trover was very scared, because he thought that Arut would kill him for this. Ed, I'm fine, don't worry, the blonde intervened. I need to rest, so consider it a draw, the blonde said. The fighters and demons in the stands were amazed by what they heard. Ben suddenly appeared, reporting that the pendant had caused a reaction. The king, having met Arut, informed him that he needed to visit the Empire. No wonder he stamped the seal as soon as he saw me, the blonde thought. Look at this map. It looks like the Empire with the creation of the Empire is not a joke at all, said the head of the castle. Arut was taken aback by what he saw. Now the Emperor was about to capture the kingdom of Esperanus. The name was familiar to him. It was associated with Remember. After all, the old man was suspicious, more so than an ordinary butler. He was from a country that was now being captured by the Emperor. The Empire will not stop at conquering only the human world. and sooner or later will turn its weapons against the demons. So there was no reason to continue observation any longer. I will take part in this game, the Demon King declared. He said that he would turn everything against the Empire, and it will change the name of the war from territorial disputes between people to a battle for the survival of people and demons. The real war is just beginning. You must leave now, because if you leave now, you will be home by morning, the black-haired man stated. He hurried to show Arut the watch. They served as a gift to the black-haired man from the young man. This time come back without gifts, the king declared. But there is something he must bring upon his return. For example, something like information. I didn't want to send it, but that must be against the rules, the king reasoned. Because this war and game is between him and the emperor. To find out who will take home the prize in the form of Dion Hart. The only rule is that if anyone tries to kill or capture him, they will be considered a coward and a loser. Care had to be taken when using Hart. The young man was a useful but dangerous card. We'll soon be playing a game of attrition, the king announced. Ed helped his boss get ready for the journey. The blonde was sure that a situation would arise where he would have to take part in the battle. He'll have to start biting a rag again to get through this. I remembered an incident that happened to him during the war. They say that in battles, the weakest become the first target of the common soldier, the warrior said. So, using a rag, it would be better if Hart starts to hide the fact of the disease. He didn't have to do it anymore, because everyone knew anyway. You don't need to help me, Ed. It's just stress, Dion said. Well, I'll be back soon, he informed the advisor. Then at night, he went to the Empire. The whole way there was some noise coming from his bag. He took the demonic flower with him. Images of the girl who gave him this gift appeared in his head. As the king said, the young man arrived by morning. Remember was glad that the young man returned safe and sound. Dion thanked the old man for taking care of the place. Why didn't you leave this briefcase with the servants? Asked the butler. There was something important inside, so the briefcase had to be kept with you. Then I caught myself thinking that this stupid plant had forgotten him. After this, the flower came out and scared Hart. No one was supposed to know about it. My lord, are you all right? Remember intervened. Then he decided to distract the young man by asking if he had tasted the Deus's loose-leaf tea that he had brought with him. Come to think of it, Dan also brought a lot of similar things. He said that the trading company he formed started trading.